Hello viewers, wherever you're watching us from around the world, welcome back from that short break. You're watching QTV and we're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QCL building. I am Aliou Cisse. It is election night in the Gambia as Gambians went to the polls today to vote for the next president of the country. The incumbent and leader of the NPP-led Grand Coalition, President Barrow, is being challenged by five candidates in the names of Ousainou Darboe of the United Democratic Party, Mama Kandeh of the Gambia Congress Party, Halifa Sallah of PDOIS, Ablai Ibrahima Jammeh of the National Unity Party, and Esambay Fall, an independent candidate. Well, we are also broadcasting on Q Radio on 103.3 and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube as well. Well, I'm joined in the studio by my colleagues Ansumane Eso Nyasi, Ade Drame, and Qtv Decision. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ali.
Well, it's good to welcome back. Welcome back.
City needed a break. Welcome break.
Well, it's also good to welcome back my colleagues who are also in the studio, Loli M. Kamara, Umar P. Jallo, and Hadi Koli, who will be helping us in the local language translation. Umar and everyone there, thank you so much for coming back on this program. Well, like I said, today Gambians went to the polls. Over 900,000 registered voters went to cast their polls across 1,554 polling stations across the 7 administrative areas in the country to elect the next president. We know already for the past 3 or so weeks, candidates have been campaigning, crisscrossing the length and breadth of the country, canvassing votes from Gambians who will decide actually who lead the country in the next 5 years. Well, Mr. Ade, results are still not coming, but like you said, I mean, this promised to be a long night.
It promises to be a long night, and you know, as I said earlier, I think based on the scrutiny that they're under, the IEC, as well as the fact that they want to get it right. We heard quite extraordinarily that one polling station had stayed open. And you can imagine in the world we live in, it only takes one person to be denied the right to vote, saying, I queued up, and then they shut down.
Mr. Ade, just hold on. I understand my colleague, Modlamin Choi, who is currently at the IEC headquarters on the Batlanding Highway, is on the line. Choi, what is the latest from the Independent Electoral Commission headquarters?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cisse. As just recently, in 5 minutes ago, we saw the Independent Electoral Commission's chairman, accompanied by the Chief Electoral Officer and other staff of the IEC, working towards this end, just behind me here. And when that happened, everybody thought that perhaps the IEC chairman was about to do what everybody is expecting, and that is the announcement of the results. But what happened was that went to the stage and did some inspection. And we heard from the Chief Electoral Officer, when asked by the observers and some members of the press what is going to happen, nothing is happening at the moment but an inspection. So they've inspected the stage, they've gone back the stage also to do some inspection and went back. So basically this is the latest development, and behind me, before I think viewers, if you were observing, you wouldn't even see that black chair behind. So it's an indication that something is happening, and in a moment, maybe very soon, we will see the Independent Electoral Commission chairman who will be out to make some announcements as per the certified result from the regions.
Thank you very much, Modlamin Choi, my colleague there, giving us an update as to what is happening at the Independent Electoral Commission, where the official results of this year's election will be announced by the chairman of the commission, Ali Momar Jai. Mr. Ade, you were saying something before we
it's interesting what our colleague Choi has just told us there, because I was smiling because I thought, maybe the chairman has a sense of humor, because we've all known that these elections are happening. He must have known that they were going to be making the announcement there. Why he had to come out and tease them with an inspection, I'm not quite sure. You thought
whether his chair is in the right place.
Well, this is it, because as Choi said, that was the most dramatic thing, was that a black chair had appeared where there wasn't one before.
Exactly.
But it's a fact. But I was saying about the fact that they kept polling stations open because obviously people had queued before the closing time. And you can just imagine the way things are now. All it takes is one person to be denied the right to vote because they said, the time is past. And 900,000 people can vote. But that one person complaining on social media, it would suddenly seem like it was a big thing, albeit it was only one person. So I guess they had to allow people who had already queued before the time, because sometimes, we heard about problems of getting the marble into the slot, including some of our colleagues who went to vote. So the process has been slow across the board, and I think lessons learned for them that you should have standard marbles and standard holes so that we don't have this again, because it obviously slowed down the process. Had the extraordinary tale being told of where they had to get people to actually come and widen the hole so that the marbles would go in. So obviously, these are some of the things that would have held it up. And in that case, if that has happened and it's the IEC's fault, they can't then deny people the right to vote. So not surprising that this late, they're allowing people to vote. But what's interesting for me as student of history, student of politics, as I mentioned earlier, is that this is a journey. Gambia's been independent for 56 years, but it's only 55 years since we started having elections, as in after independence. First elections were in May of 1966, a year after. And Gambia has a record, and perhaps our colleague Korka might use this one day in his Korka Street Talk. Gambia set the record for the fastest time from a country gaining independence to attempting to become a republic. In February 1965, we all know Gambia became independent. Just a few months later, in May, a referendum was held to actually make the country a republic. That was lost. But as we all know, Sadauda didn't give up. 5 years later, in 1970, another referendum was held, and this time there was. And since then, there've been regular elections and so on. So this is part of a process, and as I said, for the time between independence and the first referendum for a republic is a record. I mean, no other British former colony did it that quickly. Interesting times, and these interesting times come. We all know, and it's been said many, many times in its history. In these 56 years of independence, the country has only had three leaders. Sadauda, Jawara, Yahya Jammeh, and now Adama Barrow. But again, I go back to today's vote. We talked about the fact that we saw so many people. People are engaged because suddenly it matters. The message that, you can't say, I'm not interested in politics, the cliche. Well, politics is interested in you because it affects everything you do.
Mr. Ade, just want to understand, Ajibintu Drame is back on the line. Ajibintu, what's the latest from Banjul?
Has been announced by the IEC officers in presence of party representatives and election observers and the media, and party representatives have endorsed the results, and the results will be then taken to the IEC headquarters to be rechecked by the IEC officers there for any faults before it will be officially announced by the IEC chairman.
So basically you are saying in Banjul it has been confirmed by the IEC officials there and the party agents as well as the observers, and it's now sent to the IEC headquarters for official announcement. Yes,
absolutely. Everything has been announced, everybody has endorsed it in good faith, and soon it will be taken to the IEC headquarters so that it will be rechecked by officials there for any miscalculations, and then it will be officially announced by the IEC chairman.
How is the mood like in Banjul at the moment, Ajibintu?
Well, everyone is calm right now. Nobody is in the streets. You can't hear anything. I think everybody is at home watching it, having follow-ups on TV. Everything is quiet for now.
Well, thank you very much, Ajibintu Drame, my colleague. They are giving us the latest update from Banjul. Just to remind you, you're watching QTV and we're broadcasting live, and then people from around the world in Africa, Asia, America, Europe, they're all watching QTV, following everything that's happening back home here. Let me just try to engage my colleagues, Loli M. Kamara, Omar P. Jallo, and Hadi Koli. Just take us through what you have heard from Ajibintu Drame in the local language. I'll start with Loli Kamara.
Baki hani bi kam wol konton drong to mo minen tata no fonyon di ngola mo ruta na jam kote bari akumara le si se kunnan kol bem ko halbi o ko len do e ma ko ba kele sila mo ruta na janne studio ko no hani bi ka tentem programme wala ngamo ina adi bintu e mo fo banjun tundo nyinka ako nyi tembe na carte kesol be kasabitale comme sidi ya fa nyamen dron yela watu tale ka jiko de ya kasabi ya lanyo ka adu siedol mi ya lonko. Let's Lole, I'll get back to you. Let me now move to Hadi Koli. Hadi, si Olaf, li nga jota dega kum si Ajibintu Drame.
Okay, jërëjëf Aliou. Ajibintu mo nekk suñu ndaw bu ñu toogal sa diwaanu Banjul gi. Si waxtu yu passé xamaloon nañu ne si jamono ji Banjul South, Banjul North ak Banjul Central muy tund yooyu yëpp ñu ngi jëloon carte yi dajale ko yóbbu ko si buntu jàngekaay bu ñu naan Gambia High School te konte gang doon dem xibaar yu ñu jot a indil mooy xibaar yu ñu mujj a indil xamal nañu ne si jamono ji naka sa foofu konté nañ carte yi yëpp te carte yu bañ ko konté ba pare lim bu mu doon maanaam candidate bu ci nekk lim bu mu am wax nañ ko ci kanami ñu leen fa teewal ak ci kanami ñi nga xam ne ñoo fa teewal banxaas bi seetu wàllub sànni carte bi ci kanamu taskatib xibaar yi te ndaw ñu fa toog maanaam képp koo xam ne yaa ngi fa ba ñu waxee li nga xam ne mooy results bi maanaam ba ñu konté ba pare lu ñu jàpp lim bi wax nañ ko ca kaw te ñoom ñëpp nangutoo nañ si jamono ji lu ciy des rek mooy dañ ko yóbbu ci IEC chairman bi muy chairman bu nekk ci banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni carte gi ñooñu dinañ ko seggaat buñ ci pare si lañ koy door a jottalil askan wi bu boobaa daal dinañ xam ku jiitu ku ci topp ak ku nekk ci ginnaaw Omar loolu la Ajibintu wax waaye tamit bu ñu gestoo suñu yeneen naataango ku ci mel ni Alaaji Don Williams ak Alassane ñoom ñëpp ñëwoon nañ fekk buntu baa ngi xat tamit ñu ngi demoon commercial break Alaaji moom mu nekk si buntu bu ñu naan Nasir Hamadiya Senior Secondary School mu doon buntu jàngeekaay bu nekk sa Basse moom xamal nañu ne lu toll si juróom-ñaari gox-goxaan yoo xam ne ñu ngi ci diwaanu Basse bi maanaam ci tundu Basse bi ñoom it ñu ngi dajale seen carte yi ñu ngi dajaloo si benn buntu jàngeekaay boobu muy Nasir Hamadiya Senior Secondary School waaye gox-goxaan bu ci nekk dañ la jox sa classroom yi bopp pour nga dugg foofu ak say nit ngeen compter te foofu ñu fa teewu mooy ndaw yoo xam ne naka ñoo fa teewal candidate yi ak political party yi ak itamit ñoo xam ne ñoo fa teewal banxaas bi seetu wàllub sànni carte gi kenn ku ci nekk yaa ngi ci sa biir classroom yaa ngi compter sa carte waaye tamit xamal nañu ne Aliou si jamono jooju mu ngi ñu waxoon ne place bu ñu naan Basse Dunia cinéma waaw sa foofu ñooñu ñu ba tey ñu ngi compter carte yi pareeguñ maanaam daal gox boobu mel na ni daal nit ñi ñu fa nekk macha allah bari nañ ndaxte boo xoolee ci limu Gambia bi ci biir téeméer bi lu toll si fukk ak ñaar ñoo doon ay doomi réew yoo xam ne ñu ngi yeewoo sa diwaan googu ci biir loolu lu toll si téeméer fukk ak juróom-ñetti téeméeri junne ñaar téeméer ak fukki nit ñoom ñoo doon ay doomi réew yoo xam ne si jamono ji am nañ at bu leen di may pour ñu sànni carte te si jamono ji maanaam si atub ren bi ñooñu la ñu bindi pour ñu sànni carte sa diwaan googu kon naka ba tey ñoom ñu ngi continuer di sànni carte waaye tamit si yeneen gox-goxaan yi ñoom si jamono ji pare nañ ba ñu ngi compter seen carte yi loolu moo nekkee sa diwaanu Basse ñu dem si Don Williams moom mu ñu nekkal sa booru Farafeñe bi sa dëkk Kerewaan bi doon moom it xamal nañu ne gox-goxaan yi ñu ngi dajaloo si buntu jàngeekaay bu ñu nekk ñu ngi jéem a compter carte yi te si lu bañ a yàgg am na yaakaar ne nag xibaar yi dañ ko génnee Alassane Ba moom mu nekk sa LRR muy diwaanu Mansa Konko gi moom it mu ne ñu ngi dajaloo si Pakaliding Upper Basic School te si jamono ji gox tund yi maanaam gox-goxaan yi ñu ngi dajaloo ci benn buntu jàngeekaay boobu pour gis ne rek compter nañ carte yi dajale ko yóbbu ko ci banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni carte gi Ibrahima Diallo moom mu nekk sa Janjang Bure moom mu ne si jamono ji compter gaa ngee dem am na si ñoo xam ne sax commencé guñ compter waaye nag am na si ñenn ñoo xam ne ñu ngi yeewoo sa diwaan googu si jamono ji ñoom génn nañ di celebrate et nu ma waxee celebrate ci olof maanaam ñu ngi ko màggal xaw ma daal kan lañ wax ne moo gagné ci boor boobu waaye daal ñu ngi ko màggal ñoom di ci wane seen waaw ñu ngi wane seen i kontante xaw ma kan daal la ñu wax ne moom moo gagné foofu waaye nag ñoom ñu ngi génn di wane seen i kontante waaye suñu ndaw bu ñu fa toogal moom mu ngi ñu xamal ne si jamono ji ba tey ñoom ñu ngi compté foofu pareeguñ xibaar boobu fu ko ñooñu jëlee xamaanguñ ko waaye nag tamit ci biir wax ji ñi nga xam ne ñooy suñu kilifa yi ku ci mel ni Adé Dramé moom wax na ne pour doomi réewi Gambie ni ñu taxillu ñu teey ñu xaar xibaar yoo xam ne moo war a jógee ko ci IEC chairman bi moom mi nga xam ne lu waawu réew mi moom kenn kondong la may pour mu génnee xibaar yoo xam ne moo aju ci mbirub compte carte yi askan wi nag am na si ñenn ñoo xam ne ñu ngi laam-laami mbirub ressource yi am na si ñenn ñoo xam ne ñu si mel ni ñu nekkee diwaan googu ñoom ñu ngi génn di célébrer te loolu doon na mbir boo xam ne jagul ñi nga xam ne tamit ñoo nekk ci buntu xarala yu ci mel ni ci social media bi ëmpale buñ na tamit si jamono ji kenn ku ci nekk mu ngi wax xalaatam ñenn ñi ñu ngi bindi seen resource di ko ci dugal mu ngi jaxase carte gi mu ngi jaxase affaire si lu ci gën a am solo rek mooy ñu bàyyee ko kilifa gi nga xam ne naka moom la ko luwaa bi may muy IEC chairman bi di wuyoo ci Alieu Momodou Njie moom mi nga xam ne si jamono ji coy moom mu nekk sa foofu noonu ci seen bureau bu mag bi bu nekk sa Kanifing moom xamal nañu ne ba tey kilifa gi toogagul ci toogu bu mu war a toog pour joxe xibaar bi maanaam commencé gul sax di joxe xibaar kon si jamono ji kenn warta mën a génn pour célébrer ci loo xam ne xamuloo ko wala loo xam ne déggewuloo ko ci ko war a déggee coy nag moom xamal nañu ne IEC chairman bi génnoon na jéem a doxantu ci boor boo xam ne foofu la waroon a toog ba ñu yaakaar ne dafay ñëw joxe si xibaar bi wala dafay commencé pour joxe xibaar gi waaye nag dafa mel ni daf doon bàyyi xel place boo xam ne foofu la waroon a toog ba mu wër-wëre mu wër tuuti rek delluwaat ci fi nga xam ne nag foofu la jógee si jamono ji taskatu xibaar yi Aliou ñu ngi teewlu foofu noonu pour xaar ki nga xam ne nag mooy chairman bi te xam naa ne ñun ñii tamit toog moom la ñoo xaar pour mu joxe xibaar yi doomi réew yaa ngi toog ci seen biir kër yi di xaar xibaar bi aduna ngi toog di xaar xibaar bi kon nag IEC chairman bi war na moo def lu gaaw ndax fu mu toll nii yaram yaa ngi tàng xaar bi yàgg na xaar bi yàgg na waaw moom xam naa ne suma maam mu ngi bëgg a nelaw waaye mu ngi xaar xibaar googu kon xibaar gi na gaaw
jërëjëf Hadi Koli suma naataango mu ngi fii ci biir studio bi wala léegi dinaa ànd ak suma naataango kii di am Monica Umar P Jallow Umar si ak kàllaama olof
a jarama Aliou
pular kay
laaroɓe QTV no nanirton ni tan ɗo wonɗo ha joni min janof min poftidi seeɗa e bakude naɓe ne mbaɗa koɓe gandira ko ɗum woni ɓe ƴeɓa kirto e ɗum min mbaɗi ɗum Allah waɗi min garti e dow jaam joni min continue tan minen jooɗi ha joni e jonde nde min jooɗinode ko nden jonde wotere min continuiti fi tan jooɗoɗo fada fi IEC chairman o e si tawi o funtini ɗin ɗon kibaruji ɗum woni ɗin ɗon results ji ɓe candidate bi ɗaɓɓoɓe leydi ndi e joom kala mo en ko heeɓi ko e ɗum min gaddana on ɗin ɗon kibaruji kono nomin naniri ni no nanirɗon ni walla on ɗon mo ganduɗa ko kanko joɗani min to Banjul e ɗum woni Adjibintu Dramé ɓoyani min kaldi e makko e ko holliri noon ɗo Banjul ɗin ɗon constituence ji tati bonɗi e Sare Banjul e ɗum woni e Banjul ɗum toon ɓe kolliri wonde made e ɗo wonɗo ɗin toon Banjul toon ina wayno carte ɗe kontidama toon e te mabɓe ɓe ganduɗa ko kamɓe joɗanino toon ɗin ɗon e parti ji foof e yo ɓen ɗon ɓe ganduɗa ko kamɓe mbiyete observers ɗum woni lartintoɓe nulaɓe toon fi kamɓe golle mabɓe toon ko fiira lartindo tan e dako carte ɗe ɗe ndewal lawol walla woodi ko ganduɗa hen woodi ko wooñi hen e ɓen ɗon foof mbawi setto e wondema de e no carte ɗe kontira toon ni e ɗum ɗon ɗi rewi lawol te kamɓe foof ɓe jaaɓi e mbo foof candidate mum ko heeɓi ko dakkori ɗum te signi wondema nanggui e jaaɓi e wondema ko ɗum ɗo woni ko joom ko ferana ko toon to ɗin ɗon Banjul ji tati ɗum woni Banjul South Banjul Central e Banjul North e ɗum ɗon guila min giwi toon ne min mbawino haaldu e Mamadou Lamin Thioy e mo ganduɗa kamne ko kanko joɗani min toon to IEC head office mabɓe to e ɗo ganduɗa ko ɗon woni dulare nde min on ɗon e chairman Independent Electoral Commission Alieu Momodou Njie e ko on ɗon woni mo ganduɗa ko kanko tan hande e ñalande hande nde e ko kanko tan luwa dolinɗini okkiɗen ɗon doole fi o wawa haalde ɗin ɗon results ji e kala goɗɗo kalɗo on ɗon results a waɗi ko ganduɗa ɗum ɗon woofi luwa walla tan mbiyen a yakki luwa te noon ɗum ɗon woni hunde nde ganduɗa enen foof enen ɗum poti accidde hakkil e ɓayda hannde ñalande ko kanko jiiden ɗon ñalande e ko kanko woni mo ganduɗa ko kanɗo luwa okkiɗen ɗon doole e fi wawa okkirde ɗin ɗon kibaruji e Mamadou Lamine Thioye noon hollino min ɓaawo seeɗa e neɗɗo mo ganduɗa yimɓeɓe foof oɗo wonɗo ko kanko ɓe kaadori yiide ɓe nande e junngo mum e woni on ɗon Aliou Momar Ndiaye ɗo ɓoyano o funtino o yiili ɗon ɗo nden ɗon dular nde ganduɗa ko ɗum woni galle ɗo IEC hoɗi ɗon to Kanifing e o ɗum noon nde kamɓe foof ɓe ɗaminino e koɓe panno ko ɗum ɗon on ɗon arta ɓe okku aduna o foof ɗum ɗon woni ɗin ɗon results ji e kono noon no holliri ni IEC chairman nde funti o hesani wat ko ɓe ɗaminino ko arta wadde o yiili tan o lartindi ɗon ɗo foti jooɗade on suma noon o rutti o titi o jooɗe naatey toon to on ɗon office makko e kono noon ɗo ɗo wonɗo yimɓeɓe ha joni eɓe ciwtiniri tan no ɓe gaccu ɗin ɗon wadduji ɗi ɓe goni e wadde ɓayda oɗo jamanu mo gonɗen hannde e mobile ji ɗi boni ɗi balla kono ɗi jakkane ko heewi e ɓayda ɗo wonɗo yimɓeɓe puɗɗi neldude ɗin ɗon results ji e ɗi ganduɗa IEC chairman o waɗani ɗin ɗon confirme e ɗum ɗon noon ɗi wawi tagde ha ɗum ɗo jibina fitna sawsa a woni a holliri ɗin ɗon results ji e woneyi ko joom heeɓi ko ɗi serti an ko kollirɗa ko ina wayno ɗum ɗon ɗi wawi addude jeddi ɗum noon saabi ha yimɓeɓe foof ɓe toro ɓe ñague noɓe foof ɓe jooɗo ɓe gacca ngol ɗon nuldugol ɗin ɗon results ji maɓɓe e ɓe keɗo IEC chairman noon kala ko on ɗon waɗi annonce e ganden ko ɗum ɗon woni ko ganduɗa ko ɗum ɗon e yimɓeɓe ɓen ɗon joɗaninoɓe toon ɗin ɗon parti ji foof ko ɗum ɓe woni koɓe dakkodiri e ko ɗum ɗon woni nde ko ganduɗa ko ɗin woni results ji gonga ɗi e nden yimɓeɓe foof ɓe ñague kono noon ina wayno muña heɗagol ngol walla fadgol ngol ɓooyi e kono ha joni hande ko ɗum woni golle men en foof e ko ɗum woni haaju men e nder leydi Gambia ɗo ɓayda ko ɗo woni ñalande ganduɗa ko ɗo cuɓeten neɗɗo e mo ganduɗa ko on ardanto en leydi ndi ɗin ɗon duuɓi joyi garoji e nden noon ko ha joni ko mbaɗeten tan e continuer ngol ɗon fadgol e muñgol e eɗen ñaago yimɓeɓe ne e noɓe mbakkilo ɓe jooɗo ɓe keɗo e ko ganduɗa ko ɗum ɗon immoranta en e junggo on ɗon chairman Independent Electoral Commission Aliou Momar Ndiaye mo ganduɗa hande ko kanko ɓuuri darjude e nder leydi Gambia hay lamɗo leydi o a jarama Aliou.
A jarama Omar P. Diallo. Thank you very much Omar P. Diallo. I'm now go to Lolly M. Camara for our Mandinka viewers and listeners. Lolly.
Baraka bake Aliou hani bidron mbotanam fonyondi ngola nga mobe konton kote ken ko mobe dron albi nga munyo la fadron tol beba munyo le kan janyin tembena kay to demu la moy fode leti nyin tembena bari domandinke ta ko nol kon hani bi batundrobe sone ala bari se même fono nyin tembena wala mu aji bintu mi yalon ko atele molla kibar salati abe siri Banjul nyin tembena aya yitandi kode Banjul tundo kambe mu South North and in Central jede kasabiro ketale e munta don ye betale ke kensu nyoka andung pati dingol mel ya lonko wolle be siri la pati yol to ya la menol mu agent toldi e be CDRO kele andu ina ta sonne mimu kasabiro ti komi ya tale ka signé nyin tembena kode soutendir la mel ya lonko wolle fana mu korosi laldi be ma beta jele IEC fana la doku lal be ma beta jele andu mobe ye lankene mo ke walla e sontale komin kibarol ya yitandi nyame walla kasabiro mi yalon ko wala keta carte kesol nyin tembena koy be lata nyokande andu silam ya tale ka kina IEC la bumbato bari je luwa e sembodi chairman wala mi musirantiyo di IEC prate se kankularo ke kibarol ka yitandi jamala komin control keta nyame tundol kan taring nga moy mo lami choy fana la nata yitandi roke komin ko nyin tembena IEC chairman o fintata la nu jiko la fata ba ke komin silan kankularo kana kele bari hanibi na so to taje domande tumo min nata la dron ka sutendiri ke ka fan sutiyandi ka jube kolbe tembo minto anata muru kotenke ko de nyin tembena hanibi be moyrol lay be batundirol woto be sa muño la fadro bari nga mem muñanu wala siyata silan men tuta man siya silan dro wati controlon to momi namba londiri kala mola mi ya lonko alay wala tombon gambianol wala tombon pra kala ma zade sanji lulu nala ñin tembe na ali wala be kerim fulu hani bimbe kibarol bon soto kanen na tundo kibar tala mol blokol
Barka Bake, Lolly M. Camara, Jerejef Hadikoli, Ajarama Umar P. Jalo. Well, viewers, you're still watching QTV and we are broadcasting live from our main studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QCell building. I am Aliou Cisse and we are also broadcasting on Q Radio 103.3 and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm here with my colleagues, Asumana Esonyasi, Ade Drame and Umar Sidi Cisse as well. I hope the Lord never challenge reg. No, I'm not a man reg.
It's a very lively election coverage.
Exactly. So it has to be lively anyway. But I made to understand my colleague Ibrahim Jallo is currently on the line from Janjanbureh, Central River Region. Ibrahim, what is the latest from the island settlement?
Aliu, as I just told you before, we are still on the ground waiting for the remaining 10 districts to reach out to the IEC here in Janjanbureh. Right now, Upper Fuladu is already on the ground. Some of the Yaminas too are already on the ground. And very soon the coalition will start. Then we'll give you feedback down there in the office.
But so far, how's the atmosphere there?
The atmosphere is very fine. It's very fine. People are still sitting patiently waiting for their parties for the ballot box to come to the IEC office so that the coalition can be done here at Makati Methodist Lower Basic School.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Jallo, our correspondent. They are giving us latest update from Janjanbureh, the island settlement, where he is covering the election there for QTV. Well, so Mr. Ade, you have heard from Jallo. It seems the results are still coming in. I'm so by now they must have been done with Janjanbureh. In all the previous elections, this time we'll have find that Janjanbureh is already announced and done. But it's like Mr. Ade said, it seems.
I think for, as far as the history of Gambian election is concerned, as far as I can remember, by 6, Janjanbureh is announced.
Yeah.
And I suspect one of the reasons why now is taking long, everything else is taking long, they are making sure they got the right figures.
Absolutely. Sure.
They are tabulating everything properly. I'm not saying they've never done it that before, but they are making sure they are very careful. And I think that is very important, that this election is an election that is no other election like this one.
Sure.
The energy that everyone had put in, the political parties' participation, free as far as the campaign is concerned, all of them have gone out the length and the breadth of the Gambia. They have used the public
I'm so now they are doing the Mr. Adel's style of news editing, very attentive to details. One thing about him, definitely.
We have seen all of them on the national television, putting their messages across and all that. So definitely, the IEC, who has the final say, is doing everything properly. By the end of the day, whatever comes here, I'm sure the Gambian people would
I
make
totally
that.
agree with you, CD. I mean, I think if anything, this goes on to substantiate our observation earlier, that the turnout really have been way beyond expectation this time around. And you're absolutely right with all these concerns around credibility and all of that, all these questions that people have been raising in the lead up to these elections. I think it is only right that, everything is thoroughly checked, and verified and confirmed by everyone before the official results are announced. I mean, it's like Mr. Ade would always tell us, do you want it right now or do you want it right? So for me, I mean, it doesn't matter how long it takes before we get the official confirmed results. So long as it is done the right way and verified, confirmed by everyone, I think that should be.
Yeah, because there's nothing to be in a haste for.
Absolutely.
There isn't.
There's not like a timeline here.
No.
Make sure it's done properly and make sure the accurate result is put out. That is it. That is it.
Yeah, but I think even in the case of the Gambia, it was only in 2016 that we had these two conflicting results. And then for most of us who actually spent the night at the IEC on that election night, we know how the environment was at the time. Just the same way like when Choi said the chairman came out inspecting, it reminds me that particular night when we were at the IEC. It was the same atmosphere. He was always constantly coming up, from his office, visiting the place. But you could really feel that something was not really right as far as that night is concerned. But this today is completely different.
Yeah.
Today is completely different.
When you're talking about being in the IEC, I was somewhere else. I mean, we don't want to go back there. But I was in one of the buses, trying to tap the results from the Gambia and to relay to my friend, may he so rest in peace, and all those in the diaspora, and all those who fought for the liberation that we have. We may say, yes, Gambia independent, 1965, 1970 Republic, but I think 2016 was the Liberation Day and must be celebrated. December 2nd, 2016 must always be celebrated in the Gambia. Quickly.
Well,
but the results that...
Hold on, I understand Don Williams is back on the line from Kerawan, North Bank region. Don, what's the latest from Badibu, Kerawan?
Hello.
Yes, what's the latest there?
Yeah.
Hello, Don?
Can you hear?
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Aliu?
Yes.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yes. So inside the center, the collection center of where Jokadu is, the Jokadu DC or the constituency, but there is a stalemate whereby the sorry, because there is noise. The polling agent is arguing that there is a mistake, so he requested that the token should be counted. But the IC officers say that they should call out the results per candidates, which they have done, but he's still arguing. That's the argument you are seeing, but it takes result because when they the token, there is no valid, no invalid vote.
So which of the agents is making this demand?
That is Jokadu. Let me find out the it is from
Okay, what we will do while you try to confirm that, we'll get back to you on that issue as you try to confirm exactly what has transpired, who actually among these agents is demanding for recounting and all that. Yes,
like I said earlier, to conclude, what is actually happening, you just have to repeat this. Is for them to be extremely careful.
Of course.
That's the IEC.
Yes.
But when you talk about what happened in 2016, in fact, even when the you know, okay, I was beaten by something. You know right. The results in 2016 that I declared at 3 a.m. after all the confusion, the IEC came back to the same results.
Right.
Right now, what is actually happening is the same thing that was happening. But because it was a coalition team that was also getting results from the counting centers. So they actually knew the state of play as far as the election was concerned. So just to come back to the 2016 one, I call it the liberation for the Gambia. Because today we have seen in the Gambia that we have never seen here before. Of course, we had Sadauda and the PPP, the multi-party, but the involvement of the people, you know, the open space, you know, that we have seen as far as politicking is concerned, definitely forms up to the Gambian people. It's Gambian people who created this, and we must nurture that. Again, we had our report today talking about recounting. It's a process. Yes. You know, if you saw dissatisfaction or you are not so with the results, you can ask for recounting. And I'm sure that opportunity will be given to whoever is not convinced with the talent to do that.
That is why we have these agents there.
Well, this is it. And usually you would ask for a recount if it was close. Yeah. So you would imagine that it's close. And, you know, I can't believe that we've got this far in the night without me mentioning Cape Verde. Yeah. But in Cape Verde elections in 2011, the incumbent lost by 11 votes for the presidency. Wow. And everybody told him, ask for a recount. And he just said, what words that have become famous now. He said, no, we're a very small nation. I don't think anybody would have made a mistake. And he declared, he conceded. It was a small enough margin that he could have asked for a recount. And who knows, you know, because mistakes can happen. Yeah. And of course, it's within the law for somebody to request if you have valid reason. And certainly if it's a close enough call, you can ask for a recount.
We have seen it between George Bush and Al Gore in the US.
Yes.
Where they had a recount.
That's right,
so
the hanging charge. Yes.
It's within all the rights for the agents to actually make sure they're so what is there, and then they have to endorse this.
And this is we've been talking about all night about, you know, wanting to get it right. I'm sure the IEC have checked and rechecked, and as far as they're concerned, they are ready to announce.
I mean, what's funny here, as far as sport counting is concerned, each of these parties right now have got their agents.
Sure.
And they also got their tabulation teams.
Sure.
sitting somewhere, wherever they choose to sit. By now, they can tell how they are doing as far as the election is concerned.
Of course.
Yeah, we may be sitting here, don't know,
Yes.
but so their agents out there have been giving them some figures, and
course.
probably they know how they are doing well. I think that's the most
it's the kind of weird situation that we're in, because because of the nature of our job, we will only rely on the official results.
Yes.
Because, for example, if we had declared the result that's now been in dispute, and that person successfully challenges it and it's overturned, then we would have given out an incorrect result. So I think, and I reiterate the point I made earlier, wait till you have the official.
And I think the chairman as well is taking his time and will wait. It could take up till morning and just come out and give all the final results.
At this rate now, one would expect it would go, way into maybe tomorrow afternoon before we get...
Most likely. Most likely.
I mean, it looks like they're getting
quite
few results in
very few
with them. So, but they are not, coming out to tell us. They're holding on to them. Except
for the Banjul results, we haven't heard of any result that has been confirmed and on its way to the IEC headquarters. So at this pace, I think we're in for a long night.
And you've mentioned Banjul. I'll put Sidi on the spot. He's been following elections. Mr. Ade, I'm not sure whether he's very familiar with Gambian election, but I know he's been following most of the election around the world, and he knows a lot about Gambian politics and all that. So you as well. Banjul is the city. We have 21,372 registered voters.
That's right.
For example, Banjul South has 6,248 votes. Banjul Central, 8,371 votes. Banjul North, 6,753 votes.
Yeah.
When you go back to history, you will see that in 2016, if I'm right, for the first time we see an opposition winning in Banjul, and that was the president. President Barrow won in Banjul with 1,818 votes, representing 52%. The then incumbent Yaya Jammeh had 1,350 votes, representing 38%. Mama Kande GDC, coming in for the first time in 2016, got 352 votes, representing 10% of the votes. From that figure, what's your predictions?
You mean for
Banjul?
For Banjul?
Yes, this election, looking at this.
Yeah, you say you want to put me on the spot.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Like I said, in 2011, we saw Jammeh actually, sweep one in Banjul.
Landslide.
You see, you want to put me on the spot?
Yes.
And I'll be on the spot.
Your opinion?
Yes,
what do you think of Banjul?
My opinion, I think this time round, and you see, let viewers don't judge this. Yes. The fact here is
it's just the opinion.
My opinion is.
Let me help you. No, let him finish. And then I was going to say I will come in when he's finished with a startling fact.
I think when you look at the development that had happened in Banjul under President Barrow, when you talk to Banjunians, they would tell. A couple of years ago, we can't sit out because we'll be, mosquitoes and odors and all that. They've seen great infrastructural development in Banjul, and I think that will go in Barrow's favor. I can foresee Barrow taking at least 57% of Banjul.
That's quite a prediction. I wouldn't dare predict, but what the startling fact I was going to mention, because we mentioned Yaya Jammeh earlier on, and we mentioned about some of the figures he was getting. But the most remarkable thing about his tenure is that he went from 53 to 56 to 67% to 72%, and then 40%. So from scoring his highest ever, he scored his lowest ever. 2011, 72%, his highest ever. 2016, I'm talking about nationwide.
The nationwide, yes.
His lowest ever. And so it was quite remarkable in that sense. Things changed in those 5 years enough to make that huge difference. And as we were saying, the confidence of saying, let's have on-the-spot counting. Hey, if I'd scored 72%, I'd feel confident about, on-the-spot counting. And look at the difference it made. huge difference that brought him down. You know, hubris, people would say. You know, he thought he'd reached the top and could not.
My prediction is only Banjul. That was not a national prediction.
I know.
Exactly. Yes.
That amount can go to Barrow.
Yeah, in fact, the reason why I mentioned Banjul, because our correspondent Ajipinu Drame said they have already collected all the results in Banjul, and they are not sending into the IEC. That's why I bring the issue of Banjul. Perhaps when we get to another region, we will try to look at it and then, you know, give our own projection. I mean, we might not be right. Yes, exactly. But then that's just going to be a projection as what you think.
We may not be right, but we've been going around the country. We've been talking to people, and you know, we get a sense of how the people are going to vote. It's rather unfortunate we don't have pollsters in the Gambia. If we had pollsters in the Gambia, I mean, we will be displaying, you know, the opinion polls against, you know, what is actually coming. But the pollsters that we have is the VOOs, the entire VOOs.
So,
that's
Banjul?
So with Banjul, I think one interesting, you know, fact about this year's election for Banjul is the fact that we have less people registering to vote than in 2016. In 2016, we had about 22,731. And in this year's elections, we have 21,000. So, I mean, you have less people, but it's really not, you know, it's not a big margin. So we're looking at what, 2% of the national vote. I mean, Banjul constitutes about 2% of the entire national vote. So you look at, I mean, the number of people that have registered to vote this year. You know, usually Banjul as the capital city, in previous elections, their results would come, you know, you get the results towards the tail end. You know, maybe the second to last region that would be announced, or even the last region that they would announce. But interestingly, it appears this year we may have Banjul results announced first, because their results have been the first to get to the IEC. I'm not sure if that will be the case, but it may happen. Yes.
Yeah, but like the same question I put to City, what's the projection? For example, let's look at 3 candidates here. The president, incumbent NPP, a former resident of Banjul, and looking at the projects in Banjul, that gives him a chance. UDP, on the other hand, the mayors of Banjul, Rohim Malik Lo, is from UDP. Esambai Fall, independent candidate, also from Banjul. And
it's interesting to also know that Dabo was raised in Banjul.
Exactly.
And throughout his professional career, he's lived in Banjul. I think that's that is also an important, you know. Well, I think, I mean, based on what we're gathering, and you know, of course, we also have to say that if there's anything that the borough administration can show as really achievement for his time in office for the past 5 years, it would be the facelift that they've given Banjul. And I think this would be to his credit. And I want to believe it would give him votes as well. So I'm saying NPP, you know.
Taking Banjul.
And we covered the story.
You're not putting percentage.
No, I can't put I wouldn't dare do that. But yes, I believe
neither would I. But we covered a story once where the president was doing one of these projects, and he said something there which I think resonated with Banjulians. He said, you know, I feel almost embarrassed that our capital city is in this state. And he said, as long as I am president, I will bring it up to a status that befits a capital city. That was something that if I was a Banjulian, I would think, hey, that's what I want to hear. And he's been as good as his word when it comes to Banjul. You go there, I mean, friends of mine who live there, they tell you. And they're quite blunt about it, that look, you know, previously I wouldn't have voted for him, but because of what he's done and is doing, then I'll vote for him. So for them, he's made a difference. So I wouldn't predict, but based on what is obviously unscientific, but just speaking to friends who live there, I think that, you know, maybe the last time they didn't vote for him, but based on what he's done and they think what he will do, they will vote for him, and probably have done.
And I think what makes the race for Banjul, in fact, more interesting is not you know, the fact that it is the capital city, but also the fact that you have 3 of the 6 candidates.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, all from Banjul. I mean, you look at President Barrow, you look at Honorable Dabo. They've lived, I mean, from childhood. They spent almost all their lives in Banjul. As I was born in Banjul. So I think it makes it even more interesting. But again, I believe he has the upper hand. Would it end that way? at the end of the day, I mean, we wait to see what the official results are going to be.
Well, we wait and see what the official results are going to be. Those are the words of Ansumana Esonyasi, my colleague here in the studio. Well, Loli M. Kamara Abayane, Hadi Koli, and Umar Pijalo. Just before I went to Mr. Nyasi Ade and Sidi as well, Hadi, our local translators, you have heard from Don Williams at Kerawan trying to give us the latest update from there, just for the sake of our local language viewers and listeners. Just give them what has been happening in Kerawan.
Jërëjëf Aliou, comme noo ko waxee rek suñu naataango bu ñu toogal sa diwaanu Kerawan bi di wuyoo ci Don Williams moom jot na moo dugal xibaar di xamle ne que ne ñi nga xam ne nag ñoo nekk sa buntu jàngeekaay buñ nekk muy daanaka ñu ngi ci Kerawan mu bokk ci Lower Badibu Kerawan nag bu ñu gëstoo ci limu Gambie bi lu toll na ci téeméer bi fukk ak benn ñoo nekkee sa diwaan googu waaye naka ñi nga xam ne ñoo am fukki at ak juróom ñett muy ñoo xam ne ñooñu la luwaa may pour ñu bokk ci sànni kata gi ñu war a sànni kata ci atub ren bi dem na naka ba ci téeméer ak juróom ñeenti téeméeri junne ñaaru téeméer juróom benn fukk ak ñaari nit ñooñu la banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni kata gi bind pour gis ne ñoom ñooy sànni seen kata ci atub ren bi pour tànn kilifa guy jiite réewu Gambie bi ci juróomi at yu ñu digmal si doon nag ci compte goo xam ne ñu ngi koo def sa foofu xamal nañu ne daanaka demoon nañ ba pare compte gi waaye nag am na ci kenn ci polling agency muy maanaam kenn koo xam ne moo fa toogal ab political party wala independent candidate xamaanguñ nag kan la fa teewal xamaanguñ tamit lan moo xew ca foofu noonu waaye nag xamal nañu ne ba ñu compté ba pare kooku dafa dàqulu lim goo xam ne loolu la ñu jot a génne jëmale ko ci partim wala independent candidate bu mu fa teewal waaye nag may nañ ko waxtu pour mu gën a def ab gestu gis ne nag indi nañu xibaar goo xam ne moo dëggu Aliou wax ñu mbir mi nu fa nekk di demee ak i tamit nan la demee ca foofu ndax nag luwaa may na polling agency muy ñi nga xam ne ñoo fa teewal political party wala independent candidate bi pour bu ñu génnee xibaar goo xam ne yow leerul la wala am nga ñaari xel ci lim goo xam ne loolu la ñu bind luwaa may na la pour nga wax ne bugga naa daal pour ñu compter waat ko kon dafa mel ni ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekkee sa diwaanu Kerewaan bi polling agency yu fa nekk ak si buntu jàngekaay bu ñu nekk si jamono ji ñooñu nag dañoo compter waat carte yi mun naa am sax mu bañ a ñàkk waaye tamit mun naa am mu am dafa des rek si ñoom lu ñu nangutoo ak tamit si lu ñu mujjee waxtaan waaye nag dinañ teewlu Don Williams si kanam tuuti moom dinañu indil xibaar goo xam ne moo nekk sa foofu Aliou.
Omar P. Diallo.
a jarama Aliou Cissé musidɓe ha joni minen on joɗani ɗo QTV minen no kibaruji ɗi gardatani tan ɗo wonɗo noon jemma o fuɗɗi waɗɗude seeɗa kono ha joni minen keɗi minen tehli minen ketti mo ganduɗa ko on ɗon loi o dolintini fi o adana en ɗin ɗon kibaruji ɗi ganduɗa hande leydi ndi fof walla mbiyen aduna o fof ko hande ko kanko hetti ɗum woni chairman bo independent electoral commission Aliou Mamad Ndiaye kono ha joni min keɓani kibaru mo wondema ko ɗin ɗon woni results ji jottiɗi toon to on ɗon IEC kono noon min mbawino yewtide on ɗon mo ganduɗa ko kanko woni Don William joɗaniɗo QTV to ndun tundu Kerewan ɗeɗo carte noon ko carte ɗe ganduɗa ko ɗe mbaweten sup e on ɗon mo ganduɗa ko kanko joɗoto ardoto leydi ndi e ɗin ɗon duuɓi joyi garoji te noon sa laari e ko windi ko walla ko winda ko okka kartal hikka e fi wawa ferade carte e nder ɗeɗo hita ndeɗo carte hande e ko ɗum woni guluje temeɗɗe jeenayyi e capanɗe jeegoye ɗiɗi wulure e temedere e capanɗe joyi e jeeɗiɗi e ko ɗum ɗon woni neɗɗo yimɓe windaɓe e carte e nder leydi Gambia he foof e ɗum ɗon noon sa laari ɓe pecci ɗum e tunduji jeeɗiɗi gonɗiɗi e nder leydi Gambia he e tundu Banjul ndu e ɗum ko fotta yimɓe e ɗum woni guluje 90 e go'o temeɗɗe tato e capanɗe jeeɗiɗo e ɗiɗo ko ɗum ɗon woni ko okka toon kartal toon to tundu Banjul to e tundu Kane Fingdu e ɗum ɓen ɗon ne e ko fotta guluje temedere e capanɗe jeeɗiɗo e jeenayo e temeɗɗe jeetato neɗɗo ko ɗum ɗon okka kartal e tundu Kane Fing he e tundu Kerewan ɗum woni North Bank region e ko fotta guluje temedere e jeenayo e temeɗɗe ɗiɗo e capanɗe jeego e ɗiɗo ko ɗum ɗon woni ko heɓi kartal to ndun ɗon tundu Kerewan e Birkama ɓe ɗum woni West Coast region e kamɓe noon woni ɓurduɓe ɓe carte e nder leydi he e ko fotta guluje temeɗɗe tato e capanɗe jowo e jeenayo wulure e temeɗɗe nayo e capanɗe e jowi e neɗɗo goto e ko ɗum ɗon woni ko okka kartal toon to ndun ɗon tundu West Coast region Mansa Konko ɗum woni tundu ɗum woni LRR e ko kamɓe ne ko fotta guluje capanɗe jowo e nayo neɗɗo temeɗɗe nayo e capanɗe jowo e jeego ko ɗum ɗon woni ko heɓi kartal tun to ndun tundu e Mansa Konko Janjambure ɗum woni CRR e Central River region ko kamɓe ne ko fotta e wulure e guluje temedere e sappo e jeenayo wulure e temeɗɗe jeego e yimɓe jeego ko ɗum ɗon heɓi kartal toon to ndun ɗon tundu Janjambure e tundu Basse ndu ko guluje e temedere e sappo e jeetati e temeɗɗe ɗiɗi e yimɓe sappo ko ɗum ɗon woni ko heɓi carte toon to ndun ɗon tundu e ko ɓen ɗon woni yimɓe ɓe ganduɗa ko ɓen ɗon ɗamina hande foti ferade e ɗo carte fi suɓa e on ɗon mo ganduɗa ko kanko foti ardade e ɗum woni leydi ndi ɗiɗon duuɓi joyi garoji e kono noon nomin kumpitori ni e junggo on ɗon joɗaniɗo men tun to ndun ɗon tundu e ɗum woni Kerewan e Don Williams ono hollirino ɓawo minute aji dan tan ɓawo e min mbawino yewtide makko ko fiyo wawa min haalande ko hono kulle ɗe tembi toon e holliri min noon toon ɓe boni noon carte ɗe fayda ɓe continue ha ɓe kempini e kono ɗi waɗi hen ɓe ɗin ɗon parti agent ji ɓe ganduɗa e ɗi ɓen ɗon dakkodirani ɓe dakkorani e comptore nde e waɗande nde toon e ɓen ɗon ɓe nodda fi carte ɗe quantité titi e fi ɗum ɗon ɓe keɓa ɓuura hen hebde ko laaɓi ɗi waɗi wino wayno dal e ɓe koolaki carte ɗe no ɗe comptira toon to ndun ɗon tundu e Kerewan e ɗum ɗon nden noon ɓe mbulito ɗum noon sa laari luwaɗi ɓe okkiɗen ɗon doole e ɓayda kamɓe ko ɗum wad tegnoɓe toon kamɓe ne kala ko ganduɗa e waɗama toon te ɗum ɗon ɓe keeɓi hen liƴƴandere walla ɓe baasi hen heeb hoolare tan eɓe joguiɗe luwaɗi donrintini ɓe fi ɓe mbiya wondema ɗum ɗon watte ha ɗum rewa lawol kamɓe foof ɓe dakkodira ɗum ina wayno nden enen keeɗi Don William dare dakko carte ɗe quantité toon to ndun ɗon tundu Kerewan e dakko ɓen ɗon e parti agent ji ɓe ganduɗa e calima walla ɓe dakkorani e nden ɗon comptore ɓe mbatidat jabde e ko ɗum ɗo woni komi kibaruji kesɗi ɗi min ɗo yettanade o wattu ɗo Aliou
a jarama Omar P Diallo Loli Camara maneka kangolla mo yalo anen juberlalo SPM fono
baraka bake Aliou coming munta don nimino be siri nyin tembenna ko Aliou Omar ya fo nyamen anin hadi koli nyin tembenna tundol to taring kabo Banjul mol milia lonko walle carte keso sodo pour ka carte fay mo wuli mo wanin killing keme sabata wora wula anin fula Banjul tundo kam Kane Fing tundo kam mo wuli keme taw wora wula anin kononto keme sey walle carte keso sodo pour ka fay Kerewan tundo kam mo wuli keme kononto anin tam wuli keme fula taw woro anin fula walle carte keso soto Birkama tundo kam mo wuli keme saba talulu nin kononto keme nani talulu anin killing Mansa Konko tundo kam mo wuli keme mo wuli tan lulu anin nani keme nani anin talulu nin woro walle carte keso soto ni nata Janjambure tundo kam mo wuli keme anin tandin kononto mo keme woro anin woro walle carte keso soto Basse tundo kam mo wuli keme tan anin sey keme fula anin tan walle carte keso soto ngamun soto Don Williams bulum ya lonko atele mu na kibarta lati membe Kerewan tundo ka ya yitandi ko je kum faro tatale fa keta kasabiro la karola andung pati militant naka pati mulia lonko wolen pati dingol timel be sede andiro ke kanyin tembena anata yitandi ko de mo soto tale mello ta kode ate amansong kasabiro nyanta sein kanale koteke akonyin tembena wala mu kole ya koti e men soto bara fana bala kato beke kanne ka je kode patio la sede jumale balanta wala man song pour carte konto min folo keta sina sein kandiro ke kontiro la karola te mela domandin dronk be muruk la kane pour ka kuma kezo sota bulo kono wala ka kuma ko yo sota bulo kono patio la karola me ya lonko wala lafta pour sein kandiro eke kontiro la karola nyin temben Aliou
barka bake Loli M. Kamara Jerejef Hadi Koli Ajarama Umar P. Jallo. Well, viewers, just a reminder, you're still watching QTV and we're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QCell building. I am Aliou Sisi, and we're also broadcasting live on Q Radio on 103.3 and also streaming live on our social media platforms on Facebook and YouTube as well. Like we said, it is election night. Gambians today went to the polls to vote for the next president of the country. The incumbent and leader of the NPP-led Grand Coalition, President Adama Barrow, is being challenged by 5 candidates in the names of Ousainou Darboe, leader of the United Democratic Party, who is contesting for the 5th time in such election. I mean, we have Halifa Sallah, who is also not new to contesting in such elections. Esam Fall, an independent candidate, contesting for the 1st time. Mama Kande of the GDC contesting for the 2nd time, and Abdullah Jammeh of the National Unity Party also contesting for the 1st time for the highest office of the land. As we speak, I mean, counting is ongoing across the different polling stations that have closed as we speak. But like I said, I mean, my colleague Modlamin Choi is at the Independent Electoral Commission. As you are seeing on your screen, everything is set just for the chairman to start announcing the result. But then announcing that results will really take time, as the IEC wouldn't want to repeat any mistake that's going to jeopardize the whole process. Election is very important as far as this country is concerned. But like I said, I mean, it promises to be a long night for us here in the studio, but then it is the work. And like I said, people from around the world, not only in the Gambia, but in the diaspora, America, Asia, Europe, Middle East, Africa here, they're all watching QTV as we bring you live updates as to whatever is happening in this tiny West African nation of just more than 2 million people, and then almost close to 962,157 Gambians had registered to participate in this all very crucial election. The first since the departure of the former dictator, Yaya Jammeh, who now lives in exile. And like I said, I'm here with my colleagues, Asmane Esonyasi, Ade Drame, and Sidi Sise. Mr. Ade, seems there's nothing coming out from the IEC as we speak. It seems the chair is still empty.
Nothing yet. So let me shift the focus, if you will allow me slightly.
No problem. You can go ahead.
And we were talking about people using social media to spread misinformation and disinformation. And I think social media in the last election and in this one has played quite a huge part. You have people who have said, you know, my popularity is because, you know, I have lots of followers on social media. It's a dangerous mistake to make. We all know that the Constitution didn't go through, and neither did the rules that would have allowed people in the diaspora to vote. Now, the reason I mention this is because in the last presidential election in Sierra Leone, Kande Yumkela, who, if I'd had a vote, I would have voted for. And if you'd only followed Twitter and Facebook, certainly he was the one that everybody ran to from the international media, thinking he was going to win. And I have to correct myself here, because when I discussed this on Week in Review with Mohsen Boj, I said that Yumkela in fact scored 13% of the vote. In fact, I'm sorry, he actually, when I went and checked, he scored 5% of the vote. And yet, if you'd followed social media alone, you would have thought he was going to be a clear winner. In terms of articulacy and erudition, he would wipe the floor with any of them if it came to a debate. And he also seemed to have the best policies. But what he did not have is that in Sierra Leone there are 2 political parties, SLPP, Sierra Leone People's Party, and APC, or People's Congress, who have ruled. They're the only 2 parties that have held you know, it's civilian power in Sierra Leone. And unless you belong to one of those 2 parties, you're not going to win. And he came and formed another party, and that party, he broke away from the SLPP, which is the party of Julius Maada Bio, and he broke away because they didn't choose him as their flag bearer. But as I say, if you'd followed, he had many more followers on social media probably than all the others combined. And yet, when it came to the vote, because again, like as in the Gambia, people in the diaspora do not have the vote. They contribute a lot financially to the political parties, and so they have quite a lot of clout. And so because of that, they demand And we're having the same thing here in the Gambia, where people in the diaspora are saying that, you know, we contribute to these political parties, we contribute to people's election campaigns, we should have the vote.
I have to cut you there.
We'll
come back to you. I understand my colleague, Alaji F. Jallo, is on the line from Basse. Alaji, what's the latest from the provincial town of Basse?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alio. At the moment, we have just concluded the Sandu constituency results. They have collated the results, the total results for each of the candidates for Sandu. And as it is going, maybe in the next 5 minutes, Woolly West own total will also be completed. So as we are speaking, all the 7 constituencies or districts, the counting is in progress. In the next 30 minutes, we should be able to get the provincial results from the collation centers right now. But Sandu's total vote casted for each of the candidates have been completed at the moment as we speak.
Just briefly, yes, but how soon are you expecting to get the other results?
Yeah, because of the latest closure of the elections in other areas, so this is why it's difficult for me to give you approximate time for when all this will conclude. But I believe about 4 to 5 districts, they should be able to complete their collation in the next 30 minutes. By then, that we should have got at least 5 districts completed in URR.
Interesting. So what is the latest from Basse Central? Like you said, around the Dunia cinema, if I'm right, people were voting last time we spoke, 1 hour ago. What's the latest from that polling station, rather?
Yeah, as of now, the polling station, the only polling station that is left was voting. I think they have completed voting. Okay. They are counting as we speak. This is why there is the Basse district, the Basse constituency. Okay. They are yet to receive the results from that polling station in Dunia Cinema. So I think that is the only polling station that is withheld the activity for Basse constituency. But apart from that, all other constituencies results are here at Nasir at the collation center. They are tallying the results per candidate right now. But apart from that, all other districts are here. But for Basse constituency at Dunia Cinema, like I reported before, yeah. They have done voting and the counting is in progress.
Thank you very much, Alaji F. Jallo, my colleague there, giving us the latest update from the provincial town of Basse in the Upper River region. Like he said, URR has 118,210 registered voters. Basse constituency has 22,795. And like he said, Sandu constituency has 13,044 registered voters. But as he said, as the result comes in, he will keep us updated, but then we are not here to make the official announcement. That's for the independent electoral commission to do.
Yeah, as we've been warned.
Yes. I think it's the safest thing to do.
Yes, before I get to the other team, Loli and our team, if they can just take us through what Alaji has just updated us in English before I get back to you, gentlemen. Loli and Omar and Hadi.
You mean in the local language?
Yes, in the local language.
Yeah. Abaraka bake aliu anga moy nyameng al muntuzong alaji AF Jallo mi yalon ko atelebe base tundo kanyin tembena ay mol kala mutandi kode kumfaro ketale kasabiro la wala kontiro la mi yalon ko wala kensunta nyoka tumomi na kumfaro keta karadol la carte fayola bari de ako tarde o soto do maning hanibi tumomi na dron sin munta niajube dunia sinama carte fayo keta dame je tundo nyinka tarde ma soto da jele bari wol mon kumfaro ke juna carte fayo nyinna ko de wo keta dalilo ti damiya lonko hanibi munta wo tundo nyinkan mon kumfaro ke no kasabirol bara ko wati sutu ndoro ajikita ko de ko bebe seneyala le wo tundo nyinka bari nyin tembenna munta do jama ba sutu dala mi yalonko yol bela nyoka nanda seneyati mal comme alaji AF ya fo nyamen basi tundo nyinkan
Omar P. Jallo.
A jarama Aliou musidɓe no nanirɗon ni lolli haali rek e ceɗɗe ko ɗum woni kibaru momin keeɓi e junngo alaji AF Jallo mo ganduɗa ko kanko joɗani QTV Basse ɗo wonɗo o holliri wondema de ɗo wonɗo fayda results ji ɗi puɗɗi funtude noon seeɗa to Basse ɓayda tundu Basse ndu ko leyɗe député walla constituencies ji jeeɗiɗi gon toon o yi kono ɓe ɗamini e mintaji dantan yeeso ɗo tawat ko fotta e constituency jowi e ɗin ɗon mbawi hempinde ngol ɗon kontugol e wattidirgol ɗin ɗon results ji toon e kono noon nden ɗon ferorde e wiyetede ɗum woni duniya cinéma e nder saare basse he e ɓen ɗon noon ha ɓoyani ko ɓe ɗon e kempinigol ɗon fampagol maɓɓe e ɓayda loi ono holliri ni ko ɗum woni si tawi e haysi wattu o timmi kono tawi yimɓeɓe ɓe daari e ɗin ɗon line ji e fi ɓe mbawa ferade carte ɗum loi o ɗi salifi e nden ɗon dulare udde e kono noon si tawi yimɓeɓe jottaki toon to nden ɗon ferorde ha wattu yoni tan nden ɗon dulare uddete ina wayno nden ɗon dulare toon to on ɗon duniya cinéma basse e ɗen ɗon ko ha e o jemma ɗo ta ɓen ɗon ɓe pero carte arana noon ko waɗi ɗum e si wona ta yimɓeɓe hewgol maɓɓe e nden ɗon dulare e ɗum ɗon noon holliri wondema ko ɗum ɗon woni ko ɗeɓi tardinde e ngol ɗon kontugol carte toon to ndun ɗon tundu basse kono e mbo ɗamini wondema waktu foof joni ɓen ɗon ne mbawa toon yettinde ɗin ɗon kesji maɓɓe e fi ɗum ɗon ne wawa comptede no réseau aji ɗi bonini yarude toon to ndun ɗon tundu basse.
Jarama Umar P. Jallow, Jarama. Let me just get back to you now. I mean, you've heard from Alaji. I mean, they are done with the Sunday constituency, and also, you know, Basse, they are still counting.
Yeah, they're still counting because, as we know, one polling station.
I can't remember when last we had an election where people voted until this time as we speak. It is 10 p.m. local time here in the Gambia.
People still voting.
Well, we did say that unscientifically we thought it was going to be a high turnout, and I think this proves the point, the fact that this late, because by now several results would have been declared, including from some of the places that are still late. So that tells you that there's been unprecedented interest.
The issue here is 2016, still fresh in the minds of the people, that my ballot can make a difference. We have seen the PPP for 30 years in office, and every time you go to vote, it's déjà vu. History repeating itself, Sadara kept winning. And we saw in 1994 a coup d'etat. Yahya Jammeh came and then transformed himself to a civilian politician and continued to win until 2016. And at 2016, when Gambians realized the power of the ballot, nobody wants to sit at home and keep whinging. It's not about whinging anymore. It's about taking that ballot and making a decision that is going to serve you for 5 years. And I'm happy, as a Gambian today, that the whole world is watching, and we are doing it the right way. How do we do it the right way? By taking part in an election, having candidates who go the length and the breadth of this country and to talk to the people, to sell their messages, and Gambians have comported themselves peacefully all through the campaign and to the to the election. So definitely we should, you know, give ourselves a pat on the shoulder that definitely we are proud Gambians, and we have not done this alone. It's the whole Gambia, be in the Gambia and outside the Gambia. I mean, it's one country that is very unique, and I think Ade, you agree with me that if you talk to a couple of Gambians, even wherever you've never met them before, it will turn out they know somebody that is quite close to you.
This is true.
Yeah, so it's very unique. It's a very unique country. Though we know we can grumble, we can make all the big noise, but on the read, it's quite very peaceful.
But I think also there's a thing about Gambia as a country. I think it's one of these countries that does not have enemies. Everybody wants the Gambia to succeed.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, even beyond the West African sort of sub-region, you would hardly have people saying, and it's one of these things. And I think also, and this is something I've discussed with people who work in various, you know, policy things in the British government and so on, because of the fact that Yahya Jammeh was here and he's no longer here, they want Gambians to get to a point when they're not wishing that he was back. And so they want the country to succeed on those terms. They want Gambia to be better than it's ever been. And I think that is something fantastic that Gambians, both as individuals and as a government, should seize this goodwill that's coming in from all over the world, really, to make sure that the country can succeed and achieve the kind of promise. We should not still be talking about Gambia's potential and so on. When you think about what Gambia and Gambians did, I talked about the fact that, within 3 months of becoming independent, they wanted to become a republic. You know, that's unprecedented. You know, so things like that showed the ambition that this small country had. And, you know, somehow that dissipated and so on. And you know, all of a sudden, you know, people didn't want anything to do with Gambia. Now it's the opposite. They want to help Gambia, and Gambians should seize that. And
I think the outcome of these results, or this election, will definitely help Gambia to move forward. Sure. Because so far, I have to keep going back to this. All these candidates, none of them have complained about anything. Of course, they may, you know, have some eyebrows about the IEC here and there. That's normal. Yeah. That's normal. But we have seen a very smooth process in terms of the campaigning and everything else. And each of them, after they've casted their vote, talk about one Gambia and one people. Sure. That they will respect the verdict of the people. And I think that is very good. Because for some of us who have followed elections in the sub-region and wider, we have seen, even before they start the counting process, problems happen. It will fall apart. But we've seen, you know, as far as Gambia is concerned,
yes, I'll cut it. Well, you're still watching now. You're still watching QTV, and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. Well, I understand.
Waiting for the IC chairman significantly shows that in a moment, very, very, very soon, we've been telling you very soon, but this time around, you will hear the results as announced by the IEC chairman. So mbokk yi jërë ngeen jëf loolu moo nekk di xew fii nii gis nañ ne ñëpp toog nañ fu mu nekk nii ku ñoo xaar moo nekk IEC chairman Alieu Momar Njie pour mu war a mën a ñëw joxe results yi. So toogaay bi nag yàgg na waaye soo gisee toogaay bi yàgg nekk na loo xam ne ñoom ñu ngi doon def seen liggéey ñu ngi doon verify te IEC chairman ñoom rek la lu waa dooleel pour ñu joxe results yi. So si lu dul yàgg rek dinañ receive announcements yi.
So definitely, you're telling us all is set now, and any moment from now, the IEC chairman is going to announce the results that have been confirmed by the agents and the
absolutely,
and the IEC
that is the situation right now.
Well, we will get back to you.
We're giving you live broadcast, and yes, all right.
Thank you very much, Modlamin Choi, my colleague there at the IEC headquarters on the Badlading Highway, just giving us an update as to what is happening there. And as you have heard from him, all is set now. Chairs have been occupied, and any moment from now, the chairman of the commission will be, will start announcing the official results as far as this year's election is concerned. As we know, today Gambians went to the polls to vote for the next president, and already 6 candidates, of course, including the incumbent and leader of the NPP-led Grand Coalition, President Barrow, is being challenged by 5 candidates who are all vying for the top office in this country. But we're here just to give you live updates as to whatever is happening as far as this election is concerned. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. Well, I'll now get to my local translators, Loli M. Kamara, Hadi Koli, and Omar P. Jallo, just to tell our viewers and listeners what's about to happen at the Independent Electoral Commission.
Barka bake Aliou nga moy sain mod lamin choy mi yalon ko atele siring QTV to yala je IEC bumbato ay yitandi mol la kode chairmano ni watu na wat munta drom ase fintinole kanaka kankularo ke munta drom quartier keso la mi yalon ko nyin tembenna wolle lata nyoka ka bonan tundol to tare ko pare o be ketale mol mi yalon ko wolle mo kibar talalti kata fo korosi lal mel mo observalti mi yalon ko berin Gambia bantalamba fo Gambia bankun kanjang e bebe siri ne tek ka lamoylo la fa dron ka munyo la fa ka IEC la sirantiyo batu tumomin na abinala nin Gambia aya nyati lin Gambia diun la wala banku diun la kana kallan kena make ka kibarol ta ke janja membe dendi carte ke so la milian ko nyin tembe na wala botata tundol to tare nyine yitande akate mela dro wati sutun kono be ciama no stola
abaraka bake loli Kamara Umar P. Jallo.
A jarama Aliou Cissé musidɓe am ha joni minen on joɗani ɗo QTV ɗum noon ko Kairaba Avenue woni no nanirɗon ni tan no lolli haariri ni e ceɗɗe tan to ha joni on ɗon liggodijo amen Mamadou Lamin Coyɗo won ɗo kanko wonani min toon to galle IEC mawɗe to ɗum noon ko Kanifing Batil Hadin Highway ɗum woni holli wondema nde joni ɗo wonɗo ina wayno pembol ngol yettima hoƴƴudu ɓayda ɗo wonɗo Alieu Momar Njie tan ko on tan heddi joɗade e siran makko ɗe ɓayda ko heddi ko foof yimɓeɓe foof joɗimaɓe o paɗi kanko waktu fof joni mbo wawi funtude fi o haala ɗin ɗon results ji ɗi ganduɗa ko ɗin ɗon keesi yettade toon to IEC Kanifing toon kadi koli
jërëjëf Omar Aliou comme nu ko suma naataangoo yi waxee rek gis nañ image bu bàyyeekoo ci Mamadou Lamine Choy mu doon suñu ndaw bu ñu toogal sa IEC bureau bu nekk sa Kanifing won nañu nag ne si jamono ji affaire ci toll na ci cappaandaw ga ñëpp dajaloo nañ am na ci sax ñenn kilifa yoo xam ne ñu ngi toog si VIP table bi lu ci des rek mooy pour IEC chairman bi moom it mu ñëw rek feeñu commencé nag di jox limu xibaar boo xam ne nag moo bàyyeekoo ci compte gi ëmpale wuñ ne nag ci suñu biir wax nañ ne am na ci yenn tund yoo xam ne ñoom compté nañ ba pare ñoom ñoo xam ne ñoo nekk ci banxaasu IEC bi muy banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni kàtta bi ñoom ñoo ci waroon a def rek seggaat ko soo ko jottalil askan wi kon si jamono ji mel na ni daanaka pare nañ pour jottalil ko askan wi ñu ko teewlu ñi nga xam ne tamit ñoo nekk di déglu ak ñu ko nekk di seetaan ak ñu nekk di topp ci social media bi xam naa ne si jamono ji ñëpp a ngi préparé pour déglu boobale xibaar ndax gis naa ne ba ko coy waxee ba tey Aliou Cissé ak Eso ñoom ñu ngi muuñ rek mënuñoo noppi te xam naa ne am na ñeneen
ñëpp la lañ nekk di xaar fu mu nekk nii dañu la toog naaw ñëpp ñu ngi xaar
ñëpp mën naa continuer ba tey
xanaa ñun ñaar ñu ngi fini saa ñu bare ñu ngi seen message di jéem a laajte naka la waaye xam naa ne moom
jot na fi mu
nekk nii so
kon Aliou nga may ma gestu suñu ndaw bu toog sa diwaanu base bi muy Alaaji AF moom xibaar bu mu fi indi woon waxuma ko ci kaalaamay Kocc Barma bi xamal nañu ne si jamono ji daanaka am na ci yenn tund yoo xam ne yenn gox-goxaan yi yoo xam ne nag pare nañ foofu noonu compte gi gox gu ñu nekk di xaar rek mooy fu ñu naan Basse Dunia cinéma foofu doonoon nag tund goo xam ne maanaam gox goo xam ne ñu ngi doon compte pare wuñu Basse nag bu ñu gestoo ci lim goo xam ne moo nekk sa diwaan googu doon na nag dëkk ñeenteeli tund boo xam ne moo gën a rëy ci biir réewu Gambia bi kon nag pour compte gi mu yéexantu dina doon mbir boo xam ne nag dañ koy séentu sa diwaan googu te nag suñu ndaw bu ñu fa teewal muy suñu naataango bi xamal nañu ne nag ñu bari ñoo génn pour sànni li nga xam ne nag mooy seeni kàtta mu doon mbir boo xam ne nag luwa moo leen ko may kon nag bu ñu bayee ko foofu Aliou dama laa delloowaat kàddu gi rek ñu xaar ki nga xam ne mooy IEC chairman bi ma nit ma muuñ ànd ak yéen rek ñu ànd muuñ xaar xibaar yi xaar xibaar yi
Well, Hadi Kole, jërëjëf Omar P. Jallow, jërëjëf Loli Camara. Well, viewers, just a reminder to still you're watching QTV, and this is live broadcast. We're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. Just now, as you are seeing on the screens, that's the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, Aliou Momar Njie, just about to take his chair, and this actually confirms that he is now coming to make the announcement that all of us have been waiting for, not only in the Gambia, but even outside the country. People have been waiting for this moment, but this is just the beginning of many to come. I mean, he might just announce maybe 2 or 3 results and leave and then come back again. Remember, we have about 53 constituencies where he has to announce all these results. So don't go away. It promises to be a long night here for us and even you who are watching and following us as we bring you live updates as far as this election night is concerned. And then for those who are also following on Q Radio, we thank you so much. I'm so quite a lot of people are also following on Q Radio. Others are streaming, following us live on Facebook and YouTube, especially those in the diaspora. I understand quite a lot of people are following QTV for the best of election coverage as far as this election night is concerned. Mr. Adi, it seems now all what we have been waiting for is almost here. The chairman is now now taken his.
I'm getting as excited as everyone else because when we went to our colleague Choi earlier. And he said, chairs were being occupied. I almost wanted to butt in and said, except the most important one.
That's the chairman there, you're saying. So, chairman looks very handsome today, huh? And he feels so relaxed, huh?
Very relaxed. Like a dollar man.
He's swinging in his chair.
Exactly. I mean, he looks so relaxed from what I've seen, Mr. Adi.
I would look relaxed if I had all the world's attention on me. I mean, just look at the microphones that are gathered in front of him. Not just local TV. We can see ones from other countries as well. So yes, he's definitely taking center stage, and he's taken his time. He's gone and changed his half-time from the one he voted in earlier in the day, as you would imagine. And yes, he's looking poised, and I think he's about to speak.
Yes, he is about to speak. That's the chairman of the Independent
321. 657 votes. Utino A.M. Diabo, UDP, 454 votes, 454. Esa Baifal, Independent, 31 votes, 31. Iro Abdul Jami, NUP, 12 votes, 12 votes. Mama Kande GDC, 97 votes, 97. And Babukar Hajbasala, Doi, 21 votes, 2-1. The results were witnessed by and endorsed by Bana Kunjira, agent for GDC, Omar Dem, agent for Doi, Ewa Binyai, agent for UDP, Siaka Jata, agent for NPP. The results were witnessed and confirmed at the Asian House by Alkali F. Conti, NPP, Demba Sabali, NPP, Jabuja, Jo, Doi, Mamadi Kurang, Rai Mamadi Kurang, Doi, Modu Sar, agent for UDP, Madu Absambu, GDC, Ibrahima Nyang, NUP, GDC, Salif Sidi Kazama, NUP, and James Bahum for Esa Baifal, Independent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. So this is the first result that trickled in. So as we go on, we will do the announcement consequently by question. Thank you. So may we have the translation by GRTS.
Thank you very much. Well, we now give you the results from Janjanbureh constituency in the Janjanbureh administrative area. Adama Barrow NPP 657 votes. Usenu ANM Dabo UDP 454 votes. Fal Mbai, that's Esa Mbai Fal, Independent 31 votes. Jame Ibrahima Abdullahi, that's Abdullahi Ibrahima Jame, NUP 12 votes. Mama Kande GDC 97 votes. And Halifa Babukar Sala, PDOIS, 21 votes. These results were endorsed by Bana Konjira, agent for GDC, Omar Dem, agent for PDOIS, Ibrahim Binjai, agent for UDP, and Siaka Jata, agent for NPP. The results were also witnessed and confirmed at the election house by Alkali Conte, NPP, Dr. Demba Sabali, agent for NPP, Jabu Joe, agent for PDOIS, Alaji Mamadi Kurang, agent for PDOIS, Modusar, agent for UDP, Mamoru, ABS Mbu, agent for GDC, Ibrahim Anyang, agent for GDC, and Saib Gazama, or CD Gazama, agent for NUP, and James Bahum, agent for Esa Maifal. Well, those are the results that has been announced at the moment. We will take a break, and as we go on, and as the results continue coming, then we will announce it as it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we can take our first break. Thank you for coming.
From the Janjanbureh constituency. We'll just give you a rundown of the results from the Janjanbureh, the island settlement. The National People's Party, Adama Barrow, got 657 votes. 657 votes NPP in Janjanbureh constituency. United Democratic Party, Usainu Dabo, 454 votes. UDP, 454 votes, Janjanbureh constituency. Mama Kande, Gambia Democratic Congress, 97 votes. Mama Kande, Gambia Democratic Congress, 97 votes. PDOIS, Halifa Abubakar Saleh, 21 votes. PDOIS, Halifa Abubakar Saleh, 21 votes. National Unity Party, Abdullah Ibrahim Jame, 12 votes. National Unity Party, Abdullah E. Jame, 12 votes. And Esambai Fall, independent candidate, 41 votes. Esambai Fall, independent candidates, 31 votes. Those are the results from the Janjanbureh constituency as confirmed and approved by party agents and the Independent Electoral Commission. Over to the local translators, Umar Pejalo and team.
Abaraka Bake Aliou Cissé nga moyle chairman we senkandiroke kontir follow la meya lonko wole botana Janjanbureh e tundo nyinkam NPP patio nyatonko Adama Barrow ay carte kese keme woro salm lulu ani woro wala ay wole soto Janjanbureh tundo kan carte kese keme woro tal lulu ani woro wala United Democratic Party Usainu Dabo carte kese keme nani tal lulu ani nani carte kese keme nani tal lulu ani nani GDC Mama Kande ay carte kese tankononto ani woro wala Mama Kande GDC nyatonko carte kese tankononto ani woro wala PDOIS Halifa Abubakar Saleh aye carte kese muang anin killing na soto Janjanbureh tundoka carte kese muang anin killing National Unity Party Abdullah Jammeh carte kese tang anin fula carte kese tang anin fula Essa Mbay Fall carte tan saba anin killing carte kese tan saba anin killing ñina mu konti foloti nga mu soto chairmano IEC bulo
Omar P Diallo
Abaraka Bakelo li Camara musidbe no kettordon ni tan joni do wondo ina wayno fuddi result jidi puddi arde te result gidi do ara ko dum woni Janjanbureh constituency Janjanbureh constituency non no result aji di gardi ton ni ko dum woni on don mo ganda ko kanko woni His Excellency President Adama Barrow mo ganda ko on party NPP o darni o hebi carte e temedde jeego e capande jowi e jeedidi ton to Janjanbureh constituency carte temedde jeego capande jowi e jeedidi kartal ko dum Adama Barrow hebi Janjanbureh e mo on loya Usainu Dabo mo UDP darni o hebi carte temedde nayi e capande jowi e carte nayi e ko dum don hebi Janjanbureh loya Usainu Dabo UDP carte temedde nayi e capande jowi e carte nayi ko dum hebi Janjanbureh Mama Kande mo GDC darni o hebi carte capande jeenayi e jeedidi Mama Kande GDC hebi carte capande jeenayi e carte jeedidi PDOIS Halifa Abubakar Saleh o hebi carte nogas e go'o PDOIS Halifa Abubakar Saleh o hebi carte nogas e go'o NUP National Unity Party Abdullah Ibrahim Jame o hebi carte e sappo e didi e tonto Janjanbureh constituency Ibrahima Jamme NUP carte sappo e didi Janjanbureh Issa Mbay Fall independent candidate o hebi carte capantati e go'o Issa Mbay Fall Janjanbureh o hebi carte capantati e go'o e din non ben don be ganda ko kambe jodani no to din don parti ji e kambe fo be e certima be dakori wonde ma dido resolve e ko din don woni ko wumbon di gonga ko dum don woni ko immorani en e jungo e chairman Independent Electoral Commission Ali Momar Ndiaye a jarama hadi koli
jërëjëf Omar ak Aliou mbokk yi gis nañ ne nag si jamono ji carte compte nag commencé na di ñëw bu njëkk a yegsi rek moo bàyyeekoo sa tundub Janjanbureh bi ñoom nag si jamono ji mel na ni daal compte pare nañ compte gi ba yóbbu ko nag ci banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni kàtta ki nga xam ne nag mooy IEC chairman bi xam nañ ne nag dina ko segg te tamit bañ ci paree nag génne nañ xibaar bi moo loo ngeen nekk di gis si seen screen bi nii si jamono ji ñi wane ne nag National People's Party muy parti NPP bi ku ko jiite nag di His Excellency Président Adama Barrow moom ba ñu compté carte gi ba pare gis nañ ne nag ci lim gi am na nag juróom-benn téeméer juróom fukk ak juróom-ñaari carte Adama Barrow doon ko jiite parti NPP bi am na juróom-benn téeméer juróom fukk ak juróom-ñaari carte sa tundub Janjanbureh bi parti United Democratic Party muy parti UDP bi ku ko jiite nag di Ousainou Darboe moom ci compte gi am na nag ñeenti téeméer juróom fukk ak ñeent lawyer Ousainou Darboe doon kilifa gu jiite parti UDP bi ci compte gu bàyyeekoo si banxaas bi seetu wàllub sànni carte gi wax nañ ne si Janjanbureh am nañ ñeent téeméer juróom fukk ak ñeent carte si parti bu ñu naan Gambia Democratic Congress muy parti GDC bi kilifa gu ko jiite muy Mama Kandeh moom ci compte gu bàyyeekoo ci banxaas bi seetu wàllub sànni carte gi wax na ne si Janjanbureh Mama Kandeh am na fa juróom-ñeent fukk ak juróom-ñaari carte GDC doon parti Mama Kandeh bi si Janjanbureh am nañ juróom-ñeent fukk ak juróom-ñaari carte parti National Unity Party bi muy NUP ku ko jiite nag di Abdoulaye Ibrahima Jammeh moom ci compte yu bàyyeekoo si Janjanbureh am na si fukk ak ñaar Abdoulaye Jammeh doon ko jiite parti NUP bi muy NUP bi moom sa Janjanbureh am na fukk ak ñaari carte People's Democratic Organisation for Socialism and Independence muy parti PDOIS bi ku ko jiite di Halifa Sallah moom sa diwaanu Janjanbureh bi am na ñaar fukk ak benn carte Halifa Sallah doon kilifa gu jiite PDOIS di parti bi am na ñaar fukk ak benn carte si Janjanbureh Essa Mbay Fall moom mu doon independent candidate parti bi ñu gën koo xamee ci Sobeya moom sa tundub Janjanbureh bi am na fanweer ak benn carte Essa Mbay Fall sa Janjanbureh am na fanweer ak benn carte mbokk yi li doonoon compte yu bàyyeekoo ci banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni carte gi ci seenub kilifa gi di IEC chairman bi muy wuyoo ci Alieu Momar Njie xibaar yu mu njëkk a génne mooy xibaar yu bàyyeekoo sa Janjanbureh yooyu lañ leen jottali Alieu maa ngi laa delloo kàddu gi.
jërëjëf Hadi Koli jërëjëf Omar P Diallo ak Loli M Camara Mr Ade Aiso Nyasi Sidi first results are out Janjanbureh NPP.
Thank you very much.
Winning by 52% of the votes. But if you go back to the previous elections, you realize that the incumbent has always been winning in Janjanbureh.
Sure.
Yeah. Last election, Jammeh won. In 2011, Jammeh won.
Sure.
So it seems the trend is continuing.
Sure.
The incumbent is always winning Janjanbureh.
I wanted to make a very quick point because I suspect quite a lot of our viewers are quite good at maths.
Yeah.
I think the figures are being rounded up. If you add it up, it comes to 101%.
Yeah.
So before anybody complains,
Exactly.
It's because of rounding up. They've not done it to the exact point percentages because I think just looking at the figures, I think it comes to 101%.
And now when you look at the turnout, I mean, the total vote casted is 1,272 votes. So meaning only 328 didn't vote out of the 1,600 registered voters in the Janjanbureh constituency.
You know, we talked about high turnout and you know, already 80% turnout. That's quite impressive. And if that is repeated across the country, then you know, it would kind of, we said it was unscientific, but we thought it was high based on what we've seen.
And what we are saying is showing 80% turnout.
That's right. Yeah, 80%.
80%.
Which is quite
compared to 56% in the last election, that's 2016. So that's what you are seeing on the screen as we speak. 80% turnout.
That's very good.
Yeah, we said that you know politics matters for people.
2016 it was at 54%, and I mean this year at 80%. That's for me. I think it's you know quite impressive. As we've been reporting since morning, the turnout has been good. Even though we have you know a few hundreds in Janjanbureh who haven't turned up.
328 registered voters.
But I think 80%. Quite impressive.
having said that, there are 380 less voters, registered voters than there were, 5 years ago. But nonetheless, it's still quite impressive turnout. Yeah.
Well, viewers, you're watching QTV and we're broadcasting live. That's the first result that have been announced by the Independent Electoral Commission Chairman Ali Umar Njai from the Janjanbureh constituency. Just to give you a recap of that, actually the NPP got 657 votes in Janjanbureh, UDP 454 votes, GDC 97 votes, PDOIS 21 votes, National Unity Party 12 votes, and Esambai Fall 31 votes. The total votes casted actually in Janjanbureh is 1,272. So meaning only 328 they did vote in this year's election. So basically, NPP has won in Janjanbureh.
And no invalid votes.
No, exactly. Quite important. And no invalid votes.
You have to put me on the spot the last time. I want to put you on the spot. Tell me the National Assembly member for Janjanbureh.
Oh, so now you're putting me on the spot.
He said he was putting you on the spot.
Well, I know it's Sise.
Yeah.
Sise. Modu Sise is in National Assembly. Huh?
Yeah, but it's UDP, right?
Yeah, he's UDP.
Okay. Yeah. So what does this tell us?
Well, this again, it's a small constituency.
Absolutely,
but
absolutely. Let's discuss
it's significant because earlier on we were talking about Banjul. And we were talking about the difference. Banjul has a UDP mayor.
Yeah, mayor.
Now, if NPP take Banjul, then that will be quite a message. And similar here. It's a message not just for this election, but for any subsequent election. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, NPP did not even exist as a party. Yeah. So for them to go from that to this, I mentioned Sierra Leone, where two parties that are over 60 years old have ruled the roost. Nobody's going to shake them. And yet here we have a party that is 2 years old or less.
Barely 2 years old.
Barely 2 years old. Yeah. And yeah, albeit, we know about Africa, we know about incumbency and the power of incumbency and how much sway that can have. So obviously that's a significant additional factor. But nonetheless, this party now has representation across the country.
That's right. Just to add on to what you just said, it may be a new party in terms of registering with the IEC, but if you look at the political players within the NPP, these are people who have been in politics. They've been in the UDP or other political parties.
With the backing of all these other parties as well.
All these other parties. I mean, it's still very early in the night to make any speculation.
We have a long way to
go. But what we have to look at, say, for example, Janjanbureh, and having a parliamentarian who represents a political party that is not NPP here. And I think that
and I think also it's worth pointing out that in the last election, 2016, we had what was officially a coalition. And I like the fact that when my colleague Aliu did his reports, he always says the NPP-led coalition. That's what it is. Call it whatever you want, but essentially that is what it is. You had other political parties joining, and you also had other aspirants who were then, pledging their support for the NPP candidate, President Barrow. So very much a coalition.
Yeah, like Eso said, it's a long journey. We have a long way to go.
Of course.
But then, our night has just begun.
Sure.
Well, but then at the end of the day, one will say it's a good start for the NPP.
They're bound to say that. They're bound to see it. But I think, as if this is what we can expect in terms of, how the results are going to come, then people drink your coffee, drink your Red Bull, or whatever it is you do that keeps you awake. It's going to be a long night.
And in most cases,
I think there could be twists and turns.
The first result is always very important. I know some people have been waiting for the first result to come out, and let's see how it might not. Okay.
And there might be twists and turns.
Yes, twists and turns.
There would be. Because parties have, strongholds. They have places where that's their kind of, core support.
You might get the constituencies where UDP might also dominate.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
So,
and the same goes for all these other candidates. They all have strongholds.
I think if it is England now, I would say we'll just be ordering our first pizza for the night.
For example, in the Fonyi region, someone might say perhaps GDC.
Sure.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that might be one of their strongholds in this election.
But again, Aliu, it was only Basse that the voting have gone beyond, like few hours beyond the close of voting. So by now, there have been big progress as far as the counting is concerned.
Indeed.
We seem to be put in communicado, whether knowingly or unknowingly.
I was going to put my own caveat, saying that it's only Basse that we're aware of. There might have been others that we're not aware of.
There might have been others.
There might have been others. But Basse, certainly, we're definitely aware of.
I am with the belief the political players out there in the grapevine absolutely may be sensing some pulse.
And I had said earlier that I'm expecting that maybe Banjul, which traditionally would come at the very tail end, may be one of those first results we would have the chairman announce. So there you go. We have Janjambure first, Makati Island. Hopefully, I think we will get another one soon.
My speculation with Janjambure is it is easier to recheck because of the number of voters. Yes. I think other result may have come, but it's easier to recheck Janjambure and put it out than put in.
It's not a large settlement.
So it's easier to tabulate.
It's easier to tabulate. Like I said at the beginning.
But mind you, that is Lolly's town.
Yeah.
And not only is it Lolly's town, if we go to Lolly right now, she can probably name every one of those voters.
Well, that's it. Well, viewers, you reminded that you're watching QTV and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QSL building. I am Alu Sise and here with my colleagues Ansumana Isonyasi, Ade Drame, Sidi Sise, Loli M. Kamara is in the studio, Umar P. Jalo and Hadi Koli, and then we're here to bring you all that you need to know as far as this election is concerned, the results as they come in. Our reporters are out across the country to give us the latest update as far as this election is concerned, and then we'll be here until tomorrow, anytime the final result is announced. We are not leaving the studio. I know SO is ready for that.
I don't see us leaving here anytime soon. Not even tomorrow afternoon, maybe, because at this
like
place,
Jennifer
like
said, you need a cup of coffee.
Well, it's not even. I mean, absolutely, it's not even midnight yet, and we've only had one result.
And
you can imagine.
It's like you have 52 more to go.
But I think one of the things I should mention, having gone through this in other elections, I think the excitement actually is enough to keep us all buzzing and awake. We don't need coffee. We don't need any kind of stimulants. This is the stimulant. Because we want to see the results and we want to be involved in.
And we are all excited. Everyone wants to know what's the next result.
I remember, in our youthful age, we used to say, "Then you're banal." You are refusing
like
to go to bed.
Away, just to note down.
So this is a question of banal. I mean, some of us, I can remember far back in 1992 when I used to sit with a little stereo radio and start writing the figures, and you have that beautiful song on Radio Gambia then, the chorus song.
What's the name of the song?
It's Lalo Keba. Lalo Keba would do that. And then you have the late this Bakau Samate, Lalo Samate, would have those, his beautiful voice, and the late Musa Ismail Mane, and all those, Deborah Boj, and in fact, the present DG of GRTS, Malik Yang, and
Asa Musa Kamara.
Yes. So absolutely. It was very funful, and in those days we don't have electricity, where I was in Kombo Burfoot, and we'll use the kerosene lamps. My grandma would be sitting on the veranda there.
No, when this guy pronounces the name Burfoot, he emphasizes.
Of course, and I'm waiting for their results.
So it's going to be a long night, really. And yes, I mean, I put out this question on social media a few hours ago, and I said, Gambia, how is the pressure? And you can imagine the reaction from people. I mean, everyone is looking forward to these results, and I think, I mean, so far so good. It's been a good night.
I think because, like I said, the hype around this election, the excitement, everyone was looking forward to this election. I mean, because like Mr. Ade said, everyone believes your candidate has the chance to win the election, unlike before. I mean, it was more like, come on, why do I need to vote? Already we know the incumbent at the time was going to win. But with this one, I mean, there's more democratic space, and everybody thinks, okay, your candidate has a chance of winning. And because of that, everyone is excited, and that's why, you know, we are seeing this huge turnout as far as this election is concerned.
I think the hype is over now. That's what I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Before the voting,
it was there.
The build-up to
but for now,
elections.
and everyone is very relaxed. In fact, some are even gone to bed now.
Because,
not really.
You know,
Some people are not relaxing.
Because
the efforts you take to go and vote will also keep you awake to know what's going to be the outcome of the results.
And given that tomorrow is not a working day.
Exactly.
Well, that's right.
I want to believe
anybody
many would be awake.
Complacent enough to go and sleep and say, you know what, I'm so confident that nobody, not even any of the aspirants, is that confident.
Not
even the candidates will sleep tonight.
No,
not even the candidates.
You know, and you know, the hype, as we're calling it. I mean, I've never been anywhere else where, you know, people went around, you know, a couple of days before, asking each other in the office, have you got your voter's card? Where will you be voting? Exactly. I mean, that's unusual.
Imagine living outside the Gambia a day like today, the diaspora, all over the world. You know, Gambians are all over the place. Can you imagine? I mean,
when you were away.
When I was away.
In 2016, when there was no internet, no network, and we were at the IC together, and you can't communicate with anybody outside. I can imagine what people in the diaspora were really going through.
It was really difficult. I can still remember, maybe only the international press were able to file some report, like last tomorrow, who was here for the BBC. He was able to file a report, even though the internet was cut in the
and what we all thought was that the reason was the internet was cut was because there was going to be some kind of skullduggery, there was going to be some cheating. We were convinced that that's why the internet was cut. You know, so when the result came, I remember sitting there thinking, is this real? Because it just seemed unthinkable. He seemed that he would be there forever, as he himself had boasted. And yet, the result came through and we thought, I started phoning because some people didn't even bother watching. They were so convinced because there were problems with the internet, and so they thought, this is it, they're going to cheat.
You see, when
and
you
then we started phoning each other.
When you come to election, there can always be a lot of factors that can sway as far as the results and the voting and the people would go about.
It's quite a very tricky exercise.
There can be a lot of factors.
Unless you're Paul Kagame and you can get 97%, of course. Well, which means even your opponents voted for you.
Exactly. Well, I will now try to engage our local translators, Loli M. Kamara Hadi and Umar P. Jallo. Loli, yaji result of Fintinan Kabona Janjambore. It yaji nyadile. Ibora Janjambore ifan.
Loli mo Janjambore nkoldi.
Island Mall.
Islanders. Barbados.
Dari koto e kontiro wati o wati aka follow ni na tundol to Janjambure o kera kudimi yalo ko kuma bale andu molke hakiloto woto bakale Aliou Cissé e wati jamani karte ko to be keri kafle al ngal lamoy ni Janjambure mun follow gagneta ji aka tenten wole nyam e wole mu tari koti andu tol be nata wo ke kudimi yam ka tanam sondo mol kon ko Janjambure ni kontiro follow taji mo follow ya min kumande ni o gagneta do wole ka gagné so wole mu kudimi yam ka sondo mo kon andu nyin tembe nga jele carte folol milliard ko wala kontida e nga jele ko NPP parti o keta parti de miyalon ko nyaton ko le Adama Baroti to momi nani ka côté ngol la parti côté ngol la ta nyoka e ke ka fo nyinta ka sembentuya e to nata ganyo soto Janjambure tundo nyinka Janjambure de ko mi nga fa nyame jemu dulade dami yalon ko pansa kew ka boyndi jaadu aka kole ya bakel de e je tundo mol tonya e ka mansa kew fa sale malom mine bo ko ma de bari ngal ko de mo moltimi yalan ko wati jama e katari nyaton ko banku tiyo nya ko malem akata kudimi yalan ka kumayata bake Aliou.
Umar P. Jallo.
e jarama Aliou Cissé musidɓe ha joni minen ɗon gonani ɗo QTV no jiiruɗon ni results follow o ari ɗum noon result o mbo immori Janjambure constituency e Janjambure noon ko fotta yimɓe wulure e temeɗɗe jeego ko ɓen bindano toon fi feragol carte e kono ko yimɓe wulure e temeɗɗe ɗiɗo e capanɗe jeeɗiɗo e ɗiɗo e ko ɓen ɗon péri carte ina wayno yimɓe temeɗɗe tato e nogas e jeetato en boni feraki carte toon to Janjambure constituency e ɓen ɗon yimɓe wulure e temeɗɗe ɗiɗo feriɓe noon Adama Barrow mo ganduɗa ko kanko darani NPP led coalition o kanko heeɓi hen 650 kartal e ɗum noon ina wayno temedere foof e ɗen ɗon carte peraɗe toon heeɓi ko fotta 52 foof UDP mo ganduɗa ko kanko daraniɓe loya Ousseynou Dabo kanko ne e ɗen ɗon carte peraɗe toon heeɓi carte 454 e ɗum ina wayno temedere fof e carte temedere fof o heeɓi hen carte 36 GDC Mama Kande daraniɗo ɓe o Mama Kande o heeɓi toon carte 97 ina wayno carte temedere fof ko carte 7 e Mama Kande heeɓi toon to Janjanbureh constituency PDOIS daraniɗo ɓe Halifa Aboubacar Sallah e carte 21 o heeɓi toon ina wayno carte temedere fof ko carte ɗiɗi o heeɓi hen NUP ɗum woni Abdoulaye Ibrahima Aboubacar Abdoulaye Jammeh daraniɗo e NUP NUP kanko ne o heeɓi carte 12 ina wayno carte temedere fof ko kartal gotal o heeɓi hen e on ɗon mo ganduɗa ko kanko taw woni independent candidate e ɗeɗo woote ɗum woni Issa Mbaye Fall kanko ne o heeɓi carte 31 ina wayno carte temedere fof ko carte ɗiɗi o heeɓi hen e ɗum noon Janjanbureh noon no min kumpitori ni e tarika e leydi Gambia ɗo carte ɗo fayda guili carte puɗɗa feere ɗo e saare Janjanbureh nde walla Janjanbureh constituency ko nden woni dolare irtede compte ete noon si nde comptama ko ɓuuri ko en hewno min kumpitori ni walla mbiyen tan tarika no holliri ni e fayda ko gardiɗo o leydi ndi ko on tan woni toon bowɗo gagnade en ganda noon ko woni dalila ɗum ɗon kono enen ɗo gondi e neɗɗo mo ganduɗa ko ɓiɗɗo saare Janjanbureh ɗum woni Lolli Camara e holliri noon wondema ɗum ɗon ko hunde nde ganduɗa ko ɗum ɓe tawi e kandu mabɓe ɓe gomi wondema de e kala gañiɗo e toon to nden ɗon saare Janjanbureh rek e ɓe ɗammini ko on ɗon woni mo ganduɗa ko kanko gañotoɗe ɗon carte nden noon joni daren carte ɗe jemma o mo juuti ha joni ko results goto ari ina wayno yaawi fi wiide ko kaari gañoto kono tawi si tawi yaari no Lolli wini koɓe gomno ko kamɓe guili ɓe gone sukaɓe nden ko président Adama Barrow gañi Janjanbureh joni daren da ko noon kulle ɗe mbaloreta e kono ko ɗum ɗo woni result ji ɗi ganduɗa ko ɗin ɗon guimmori Janjanbureh constituency Aliou
janni haadi koli kana mbato gañi sénéyandi molla comme mol milliard lon ko wolle mo millier carte fay wo tundo ñinkan mul yalon koye tolle carte keso soto mo wuli kilin mo keme woro Janjanbureh tundo ñinkan wolle carte keso soto mil nata carte o ñinta ka fay mo wuli kilin mo keme fula mo tan woro wula anin fula wolle carte o ñinta ka fay mo wuli kilin mo keme fula tan woro wula anin fula niyajuɓe kemo kono sidula tan seyo ye wole soto niyajuɓe Adama Barrow a tela patio ñin nata sidula tan lulu anin fula gagné UDP Ousseynou Dabo itol nata sidula tan saba ani woro gagné GDC Mama Kande itol nata sidula sey gagné PDOIS Halifa Sallah itol nata sidula mo gagné NUP Momo Abdoulaye Jammeti itol sidula kilina soto kemo ñin kono Issa Mbaye Fall ate sidula fula kemo ñin kono ñillamu hapoti nata yitandi fana ko carte kese mon soto mi ya lon ko amon fay ko mi anyanta fay la ñamen Janjanbureh tundo ñin kan
barka bake Lolly M Camara hadi
jërëjëf Aliou loole xam naa woykat bi yéen leen woyal ay la noo to yaabe Janjanbureh
waaw Jali Ba boo ko woy de
ay la noo to yaabe Janjanbureh
waaw
kon mu ngi noonu mbokk yi ci xibaar bu bayeekoo ci banxaas bi seetu wàllu sànni kàtta bi ñu njëkkee ci island bi muy fu suuf gi nekk mu doon nag Janjanbureh ñoom nag seeni xibaar yu bayeekoo foofu Janjanbureh nag lu toll si fukk ak benn gox-goxaan moo fa nekk Janjanbureh nag tund bi moo tudd noonu waaye tamit am nañ benn gox bu tudd Janjanbureh ay ñomin ñaami wes yooyu noonu yëpp mu ngi fa waaye nag gox bu tudd Janjanbureh boobu moo doon xibaar bu njëkk a génn xibaar boobu nag mooy suñu gestowaate parti NPP bi muy parti Adama Barrow bi moom am na juróom benn téeméer juróom fukk ak juróom ñaar muy katta maanaam ci téeméer bi moom am na juróom fukk ak ñaar UDP di parti lawyer Ousseynou Dabo moom am na ñeenti téeméer juróom fukk ak ñeent maanaam ci téeméer bi moom am na ci fanweer ak juróom benn GDC di parti Mama Kandeh bi moom am na juróom-ñeent fukk ak juróom-ñaar muy ci téeméer bi am na juróom-ñett PDOIS di parti Halifa Sallah moom ci compte yu bayeekoo foofu am na ñaar fukki carte ak benn maanaam ci téeméer bi moom am na ñaar parti NUP bi muy Abdoulaye Jammeh moom am na fukki carte ak ñaar ci téeméer bi benn la am Essa Mbay Fall doon ab independent candidate di parti Sobeya daanaka moom am na fanweeri compte ak benn maanaam ci téeméer bi am na ñaar Aliou soo ma mayee rek ba tey ma continuer si tundub Janjanbureh bi Janjanbureh nag maanaam tund boobu lu toll si téeméer fukk ak juróom-ñeenti téeméeri junne nit juróom-benn téeméer ak juróom-benn ñoo fa toogee si téeméer bi boo ko gëstoo dina doon fukk ak ñaar ñoo nekkee sa diwaan googu waaye naka lu toll si junne ak juróom-benn téeméer ñoo nekk sa goxub Janjanbureh bi te ñoom la banxaas bi seetu wàllub sànni carte bi register pour ñu sànni carte ci atub ren ji maanaam ñoom ñoo doon ñu am fukki at ak juróom-ñett te ñu doon ay doomi réew lu waa may leen pour ñu bokk si ñuy tànn kilifa guy jiite réewu Gambia bi si beneen juróomi at bu ñu digmal si biir junne ak juróom-benn téeméer junne nit ñaar téeméer juróom-ñaar fukk ak ñaari nit ñoom ñoo ci sànni carte bu ñu xaajee lim goo xam ne ñoom ñoo register ak ñu sànni carte daanaka lu toll si ñetti téeméeri nit ñaar fukk ak juróom-ñetti nit ñoom ñoo doon ñoo xam ne ñu ngi amee seeni voters card nekk sa Janjanbureh waaye nag génnul ñu sànni carte kenn xamul nag luy waral loolu noonu waaye nag Aliou lii moo jota egsi fii bayeekoo ci Island Auto waaw ma delloowaat la kàddu gi
jërëjëf jërëjëf Hadi Koli jërëjëf Loli M Camara jërëjëf Omar P Jallow. Well, viewers, you're still watching QTV and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QCell building. I am Aliou Cisse with the whole with my panel here, Ansman Esonyasi, Ade Drami and CD Cisse, as well Loli M Camara, Omar P Jallow and Hadi Koli. We are bringing you live coverage of the election today. As I told you earlier on, Gambians today went to the polls to elect the next president of the country. Like I said, the leader of the NPP, so the incumbent Adama Barrow, is seeking re-election after winning 2016 election, ending the 20-year rule of former President Yahya Jammeh, who now lives in exile. Barrow is now seeking re-election, and he's been challenged by 5 candidates who are also seeking the highest office of the land. I mean, this is the first election since the ousting of the former president, Yahya Jammeh, and then in a much more democratic space, and people are now free to express their views, and even openly so which party they belong to. And like I said, voting has actually closed in the Gambia, and then counting is currently underway across all the polling stations. In fact, I can confirm some have already reached the IC headquarters on the Battling Highway, but I'm sure they're just trying to do their fact-checking and all that and confirm that all the results are intact before they officially announce it. But already we have received the official announcement of the results from Janjanbureh constituency in the Central River region, where the NPP has won in that constituency. But like I said, we're also broadcasting on Q Radio on 103.3 and also streaming on our on Facebook, QTV Gambia, and YouTube as well. Like I said, 962,157 registered voters today went to cast their votes to elect who the next president will be. It's going to be a long night, but then we'll be here to give you all the live updates as the results are being announced from the IEC headquarters on the Battling Highway. Our reporters are out across the country, across all the IEC regional headquarters from Banjul to Basse. My colleague Madlami Choi is currently at the IEC headquarters on the Battling Highway. Jenaba Sonko is also at the Kanifing office. Modu Gajaga is in Brikama. Ajimitu Drame is currently in Banjul. Don Williams is in Karawan. Al-Hassan Bah is in Mansa Konko Lower River Region. Ibrahim Jallow is in Central River Region. And Alaji F. Jallow and Fodemane are in Basse, Upper River Region, to bring us up to speed and everything that has to do with this election. This is QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. And like I said, not only people in the Gambia, but even Gambians in the diaspora across Africa, Europe, Asia, America, Middle East are all watching QTV either on their TV or on the social media, or some are following on Q Radio as well. Q Radio is nationwide, even beyond the country. So you don't have to miss anything as far as this election night is concerned, because we're here to bring you the latest as far as this election is concerned today. Well, Mr. Ade, results.
Yes, I mean, as we await the results, I think it's good to reflect on the fact that throughout the day, we sent our reporters out as they voted to ask fellow voters, what do you want from an election? What do you want from a president? And remarkably, similar stories.
And by the way, Modu Gajaga is at Brikama.
Yes,
just
indeed. You know, people wanted good schools, good hospitals, good roads, you know, good infrastructure. They wanted the economy to be, they weren't asking for extravagant things. You know, they were asking for quite simple things. And so it was quite instructive that that was what they wanted, you know, regardless of whomever they had cast their vote for. We didn't ask them, who did you vote for, deliberately, we didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But nonetheless, we just said, you know, if you had somebody that you were voting for the presidency, what would you want from them? And you know, obviously they talked about things, you know, more nebulous things like peace, tranquility, but more hardcore things like good schools, good hospitals, good roads, etc., etc. So
someone even talk about having a school bus.
That's right. Their transport woes. Yes, you know. So these are some of the things, and I guess, you know, if you listen to or you read, you know, either whether it's a 5 or 10 point plan or manifesto, most of the aspirants were pretty much offering the same thing. You know, I've said this till, you know, whatever blue in the face, whatever the phrase is. I think people make the mistake that, you know, you hear friends who live in the diaspora say things like, I'm going to go back to Gambia and I'm going to contest the presidency. It's a small country. How difficult can it be to fix? It's only when you come here that you realize the complexity of it. It's not. They're right on one thing. It's a small country, but it's complex. Gambia doesn't have oil wealth. You don't have mineral wealth. You know, and so you have to actually exist and make do with what you do have. This is a country which relied quite a bit on tourism, and that was decimated thanks to COVID-19. So what then do you do to survive? Look at the record numbers of remittances. When World Bank and IMF predicted they would go down, they went to record numbers, people in the diaspora sending back home. So, you know, Gambia is a complex country, and I think, you know, anybody who wishes to stand needs to understand that, and don't think, oh, it's small, you know, how difficult can it be? Well, try doing it, and then you'll see that it's not that simple. And it's, for me, that's a kind of simplistic and condescending approach. You know, oh, I'll go there and I'll fix it. No, you won't, you know, because you probably don't have proper policy or plans on how to fix it. And I think, as I said, go back to what we heard from people who were queued up, and the fact that I drove past queues at 6:30 in the morning, that told me that people knew that this election mattered to them.
Yeah, because like you said earlier, most of the reportage that we've seen, when the reporters try to talk to some of these electorates, and one thing, like you've said earlier, quality of life.
Yeah, great.
I think for the history of the Gambia, people or electorates understand that their vote can change their life. And let's wait and see who do they trust with their life for 5 years.
And also looking at the interest around this election, the role of the media. I mean, previously we didn't have anything like this on the Jami. How important do you think the media has, the role of the media in this whole election process, leading to the election, the campaign and everything?
You mean the local and international media?
Yeah.
It's immense.
It's particularly the local media here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen the GPU, you know, doing courses and you know, one-day courses and seminars and workshops around, you know, reporting responsibly. you know, I hate using this phrase, but I'll use it this time, sensitizing people. You know, we've been sensitized until we become desensitized. You know, they went around the country, and we saw plethora of you know, and I commend them, you know, not just the GPU, but particularly GPU. They really went out of their way to engage their members and non-members in really getting the message across. Like, you know, you have a responsibility to be responsible. You know, don't be irresponsible, you know, because, you know, as I said, you know, we live in an age where everybody who has a mobile phone says, I'm a journalist. Exactly. Because they can take a picture of an accident and upload it, and lots of people share it or watch it. That doesn't make you a journalist, you know. So the kind of responsibility that I think journalists have begun to understand, that, you know what, we live in a space now where we can practice our craft pretty much, you know, without fear of being carted away and locked up in prison. And because of that, yes, we have rights, but we also have a responsibility. And that part of that responsibility is being sensible in how you report things, and don't exaggerate, and don't, you know.
So? Yes, this is just to further reiterate what Mr. Ade and CD had said earlier, I mean, regarding how important this election is. I mean, I had the opportunity to interact with, you know, many voters, I mean, in the morning, and even some election officials as well. But I can tell you, I mean, for me, I think if anything, I mean, the record number, I mean, of people who have turned up to vote in this year's election, if anything, I think it sends a message, a very strong message to anyone who emerges winner at the end of the day, that what the Gambian people want is change in the quality of service, change in infrastructure, and a good future, not only for ourselves, but for future generations. And I think we will get that. I'm sure for all of the candidates who are taking part in these elections, if anything, the turnout in this year's election really should be, I mean, I think it sends a very strong message, and there's a lot we can really learn from. Again, going forward, I mean, we've said this earlier, I think it was CD, and I just want to stress this again, that no one should really, you know, take the risk of declaring oneself winner until the IEC does so. I mean, Africa really, we keep having these problems here and there. We've seen it even in, you know, past elections in our neighboring countries, and really, these are recipes for conflict, for chaos, and we need to eschew some of these things. Let us just follow whatever the law dictates, and I think so far so good. You know, we pride ourselves in being the most hospitable people in the world, and being the most peaceful country in the world. And I think this is, you know, a perfect opportunity for us to show the world how peaceful and united we are as a country.
And if I could just quickly pick up on something you've said there about, you know, winners, losers, etc. Whoever emerges the winner, because there will be a winner.
Indeed.
You know, what I would like to see is something that hardly ever happens. As that person has gone around and campaigned, he would have heard some ideas of his opponents that he might have thought, that's quite a good idea. What I would like to see is for him to reach out to that person and say, you know what, I didn't have this in my manifesto, I didn't have it in my campaign promises, but I think you've got a brilliant idea there. Can we work together in the national interest? It hardly ever happens, but it needs to happen. But what tends to happen is the person who has that brilliant idea says, you know, I'll keep it to myself, I'll wait and see if this person fails, and then the next time I'll come to the electorate with it. That should not happen, but it hardly ever happens. And if people genuinely mean that they have the country's interest at heart, they will accept that invitation from whomever wins and says, you know what, let's work together in the national interest.
That's quite right. I just want to look at the message of peace. We have seen community leaders, youth leaders, religious leaders, body Christian, you know, children's parliament, all these people for the last weeks, any radio, any television, all you see is the message of peace, the message of peace, the message of peace. And I think this is very, very, very healthy, Aliu, because we're a small country. When you know, see what happened in our neighbors, you know, when they go into elections and all those things, what comes for it, it's quite bad. So for a young country in terms of democracy, when I say young in the sense, you know, we had 22 years of something different. And here we come with 2016, you know, an election that definitely could have gone either way. because we were all aware when Jammeh said he was not leaving, and then, about 50,000 Gambians left the country to Senegal or to the neighboring countries and stuff like that. So for us to regroup again as a country, people came back and start doing the building up for this democracy that we have now. So it's good to nurture that. But again, we must commend the imams, the priests, the pastors, all those people out there who are, making the word of peace all over the networks, the radios, the televisions, and the UN agencies as well. I've seen the UNDP and all the agencies, whether the EU and all this, the GPU, have also done so much in trying to educate the people and give them the word of peace. You went to a point, I think, because of the campaign of peace, so a lot of people going out very early to do their votes and then go home and just have a, chill out. So definitely, I think it has paid off.
Well, now looking at the case of Janjanbureh, I mean, people development needs may differ. What might be of importance to you, someone living in the coast, might be different for someone living in the provinces. For example, you might talk about electricity in the country here, but maybe someone in Nyomi, what he wants is road. So, what do you think must have been the reason for having the president win in the Janjanbureh constituency? So, from your own observation.
No, I know, I mean, historically, I mean, as we've heard even from Lolly, who, is a native of, Janjanbureh, who's an islander. I mean, historically, the incumbent has always won, in Janjanbureh. But I think you look at some of the infrastructural projects that his government has managed to implement within CRR, I think it may have played a role in this. I really believe so, even with the bridge as well. It must have contributed to all of this. You look at the borough administration, we may not really have enjoyed much infrastructural development within the combos, but you go towards the provinces, CRR, URR, down to the LRR. I think, if anything, what they're enjoying now in terms of infrastructure compared to, 2 or 3 decades ago, I think, to be fair enough, it's only natural that, the NPP would have an edge over the others around these areas.
Yeah, like you're talking about infrastructure, I remember when we visited Janjanbureh, he promised to build their roads within the town, knowing that, saying that, he intends to construct 1,200 kilometers of roads if re-elected. And Janjanbureh, he said, is high on his agenda, knowing the importance of the settlement.
I mean, Ali, Janjanbureh is...
So maybe perhaps all these things must have played a part in having the people of Janjanbureh actually, voting in a bid to give him a second mandate.
I mean, you look at Gambia, I mean, our most popular historical sites are in Janjanbureh, and this used to be our provincial town, but you look at Janjanbureh, within the past few decades, the infrastructure has really dilapidated. So to have, someone who is in power come out there and promise you that I'm going to do all of this and starts, putting up structures here and there, implementing a few projects, obviously, I mean, naturally, you would tend to, throw your weight behind that person because, I mean, like I said, it's a natural thing. So I think, for Janjanbureh, for me, it's important. This is important. I mean, we rely a lot on tourism. And like I said, most of our popular historical sites are based in Janjanbureh. So it's only natural that whoever is in charge of this country really would want to have their votes.
And Central River region, that's why you have the stone circle, the Kerbach, they're all in the Central River region, which actually the administrative
and the popular slave houses in Janjanbureh as well. So it's an important settlement, really.
Sidi? I know you always frequent the provinces. I know you've been going to Makati and all that. Saying Makati and then having the NPP winning, what do you think must have been the reason? What do you think they're anticipating?
I think, like you said earlier, when President Barrow was there, the message was, I'm going to do your roads, and I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Great. Janjanbureh, like Eso have said, is a very historical town. But it was quite depressing for me when I visited Janjanbureh some time ago. I think there's a lot more that could be done in Janjanbureh. Janjanbureh could be an island that, in fact, would be, rehabilitated in terms of all the historical sites, and whereby Gambians can even have holidays at home, not, trying to go outside the Gambia for holiday. Because for me, I think Janjanbureh is a great holiday destination. If you don't know, maybe I can tell you. Yeah. So definitely, if the government, whoever comes in office can definitely do a lot more for infrastructure-wise in Janjanbureh, would attract a lot of local visitors, and that would bring, a lot of jobs in Janjanbureh, visits, from tourists outside the Gambia. Because it is also important we do away with the seasonal tourism, in Gambia. For the longest time, it's only winter time, in abroad, in the UK, then people come here. Gambia tourism should go all year round. And I think I would challenge anybody who happens to be the winner in this election to do extremely well. Not only are they to have a seasonal holiday in the Gambia, but in fact, Gambians can have holiday. Well, like I said to Aliu, Janjanbureh is a great holiday destination.
I think Hamad NK Ba has said this many times, and he was prompted, one has to be honest, by what happened with COVID-19. Yeah. He said he would like to see more internal tourism. He said there are many sites in the Gambia that Gambians have never visited.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying about it. It's of domestic tourism.
And yet people from abroad have come and they will tell a Gambian about these places, and they think, oh my gosh, and there are also a lot of beautiful places. I remember I took some of my friends to Sanyang beach, where I'm building a house, and I was astonished that these were Gambians who were in their 40s and 50s. They'd never been there. It's one of the most beautiful beaches I'd seen in the Gambia, and ranks with several of the ones that, in Sierra Leone, we're always proud of the beautiful beaches we have. And yet even some of the Gambians who were saying to me, oh, the ones in Sierra Leone are more beautiful, they were really impressed. And yet they'd never been there. So, there is a lot to see, but we need to sell it to each other within the Gambia, that this is somewhere worth visiting.
Thank you very much, Ade Drame. Thank you very much, Ansumane Esonyasi, Sidi Sise, Loli M. Kamara, Hadi Koli, and Umar P. Jallo. Viewers, you're still watching QTV, and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QCell building. I am Alu Sise, and this is election night. We're bringing you all the updates as far as today's election is concerned. It is approaching midnight here in Banjul, the Gambia. We'll go for a short break, and we'll be back soon.
Want it? Order for it and pay quickly using QuickPay on the QMoney platform. With great technology comes ease and convenience. Get a glimpse of what a comfortable life is with QMoney by dialing *323# now. Call 133 for more information. QMoney, Sunyu Kalpe.
Oh, darling, darling, darling. I don't know what's going on. I'm not telling you.
That's the thing, because oh, darling, darling, darling.
Bravo dafa spécial ci bépp jeeg bu koy jëfandikoo ci biir wañam man daal bëgg naa jeeg buy wëri li sàppali ci nam te bravo bokk na nag li sàppali ci nu jeeg yu baax ji yëpp nag laay waxal togg lu neex yëkk lu neex taaj lu neex ku ñam ne gongo bravo